All right. Welcome. My name is Gabrielle Crichlow. You are, if you are here because you want to learn more about homeschooling, how to get started, how to get better at it, whatever your reason is. This is Homeschooling 101. So, welcome aboard, everyone. So, my name is Gabrielle Crichlow and I'm the owner and director of A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. So we are the ones that are providing this workshop to you today. So the purpose of this workshop is to connect parents to the world of homeschooling and to expose them to different types of education. So we've been doing this workshop for 5 years now, and it was born during the pandemic. So since the pandemic began in 2020, there's been a surge of demand in homeschooling due to either the lack of remote learning or just plain dissatisfaction with the school system. So about 3 years ago, when we started this workshop, we talked about the removal of certain topics from schools like critical race theory and sex education. 2 years ago, when we did it, we talked about book banning, health scares, and changes to school policy. Last year, when we did it, we talked about school shootings, bullying, the inaccurate teaching of ethnic history, like Black history, like Latino history, like Asian history. And also, we talked about the rise of teacher shortages. So now year, so now this year, it's all the above. It's everything that I just said happening once again. But in addition to that, there's the explosion of artificial intelligence in schools, whether it's used to grade papers, it's used to teach our students, right? So now that AI is implemented in the classroom, that poses a lot of issues as well. And another thing that has popped up in regards to why people are homeschooling is not a new thing, but your children may be neurodivergent or they may have special needs, and you find that your school system is not it's not attentive to their unique needs, as they may be a unique case and they need more than what the school is offering them. So whatever your reason for homeschooling, you have come to the right place. Many of you may have heard about homeschooling, whether it's in a positive light or a negative light, and you just want to know what all the fuss is about. You may be homeschooling right now and you just want more information. Many of you are looking to start and you want to know how. Whatever questions you have, we're here to answer them and we'll answer them to the best of our abilities. So, as a part of our mission of A Step Ahead Tutoring Services, we are here to tackle the academic challenges of all of our students and the emotional, mental, and behavioral changes that result from these challenges. And in doing so, we believe that we will improve our communities in the process. So now those of you who are here, you are watching this live, but the replay will be available shortly. It'll be available on our social media and our website soon. So if you've missed anything, don't worry about it. Don't fret. The replay will be available. So I do want to caution all of you with this very important note. So I need you guys to take heed. So the homeschooling laws are different in every state. So it is not a uniform set of laws. So the homeschooling laws are different in each state. And for those of you who happen to be international, you're outside of the United States, it's also different in each country. So while we'll do our best to answer our questions, this workshop is intended to be general and to encourage you to research the laws of your specific state or country. But of course, we'll give you resources throughout the program to help you figure all that out. All right, so now I'm going to tell you the rundown for today. So the first question we're going to discuss is, what is it? We're going to define homeschooling for you. So what is homeschooling? The second question is what is the paperwork involved and how does standardized testing work? So it's a two-part question. The third question is, how do you choose a curriculum? The fourth question is, what is a microschool? The fifth question is, how do homeschooled children get into college or the military? And the last question is, what are some teaching strategies I can use. So now throughout the program, this is intended to be interactive. So I want you guys typing your questions in the chat, speaking your questions out loud, but please hold all questions until the end. And as a treat for you guys, there is a raffle, which I will put the link in the chat in a second. So I hope you guys sign up for the raffle. You will get some great prizes as well. So, all right, so let's begin. All right, so our first speaker for today is Waletha Garrett. She's going to answer the question, what is homeschooling? So she's going to define it for you guys. So I'm going to tell you about her. So Waletha is the founder of Products Pusher LLC, the company behind Honey Pop Shop, an online store known for its fun, feel-good products that spark creativity and self-expression. As a parent and entrepreneur, Waletha brings a unique blend of business know-how and hands-on experience in building a lifestyle brand from the ground up. She's passionate about helping families explore creative learning paths and believes entrepreneurship is one of the most powerful tools that we can model for the next generation. When she's not curating bold products for her shop, you'll find her balancing business with homeschooling and encouraging other parents to think outside the box. All right, so now I will bring Waletha forward. We affectionately know her as Wally. So, Wally, I'm going to bring you on down. You are up first.
Well, thank you so much for that beautiful intro. I'll have to pay you later. So what is homeschooling? A lot of people say it's A, it's B, it's a mixture, whatever. Here's the basic definition. You are taking your child either out of public or private school, or you're starting them at home with learning. Okay, that's the basic of what is homeschooling. Okay, you don't have to have a degree. You don't have to go to college yourself. You don't have to be a teacher, because in the state of Florida where I am, you are the teacher, the principal, the lunch lady, the everything. Okay. And what is homeschooling? For Florida, homeschooling is this: whatever curriculum or things or subjects or life skills that you would like for your children to learn. Okay. And so I will tell you what I do with my children. The first year that I homeschool, I will say it was very stressful because I was trying to teach them exactly how they were taught in their charter school and go from 7 o'clock in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. Why was it stressful? Not only are my kids homeschooled, they are very athletically active. So when homeschool ends, then I am taking them to practices that last for hours after. And so getting home 8, 9 o'clock at night, it was very stressful. So the second year that I started homeschooling, I decided to do what we call unschooling. So I took out the specific curriculum that I was using. And what I do is teach life skills and pipe in subjects. So they learn math, English, social studies, but not such a strict regiment. You know, I have one child that's like my college student. She loves to sleep. So guaranteed her schoolwork is not going to start before 12 o'clock during the day. I have one child that gets up early, she gets hers done. And then I have one child that kind of mixes in the middle. So for me, homeschooling is this: what I want them to learn in order to function in society, the subjects that I want them to know. I can pick the subjects, I can pick the curriculum if I want to. I do not have to do anything that the public or the private schools offer. But I do pick subjects they need to know, such as math, writing, grammar, things of that nature. And Gabrielle, right, each state is different. Florida is very lax with homeschooling, not lax as in they don't keep up with who's being homeschooled, but lax as in I don't have to have a specific test for my children. I don't have to join a co-op or anything like that. It's just that I have to every year give the county a like a notarized form from a certified teacher. I use the same teacher every year, and she does that for me, notarizes it. I pay her, and then I'm done for the year. That's all the paperwork I have to do. But a lot of people ask me too, what do my children do for socialization? Well, as I mentioned before, they were in charter school. And why did I start homeschooling in the first place? Well, when I was divorced, I moved back to Florida, which is my home state. And I decided I would homeschool them because the charter school where they were was very advanced. And I just felt that if I can keep that going, instead of putting them in a school and them trying to figure out where they are, it would be better. Well, they love it. And so I decided to join a homeschool group for socialization. So there's field trips, arts and crafts, STEM projects. They even do like a winter dance, prom, things of that nature. So the children actually have friends like school, except we're not in the building, we're at home. I tell my kids all the time, homeschool is this. If there is a day that we're all tired from running around with athletics, then we may not homeschool that day. It may be Tuesday, we don't homeschool, but Wednesday, Thursday, we may. Friday, we may not. Florida does not require an attendance, so I do not have to have them go to school a certain amount of days. The reason I love this is because it reminds me, I shouldn't say it reminds me, I can imagine back in the day when people did not have the resources that we have. You know, some people couldn't go to school because they were too far. I can imagine at home, that's what the parents did. You know, they gave them the basics to learn, to function in society, and just let them be themselves. Homeschooling to me, too, is not just about what are we doing as courses, but also what are we doing helping the children define themselves. You know, my one daughter found out she likes to write. You know, after we would do assignments and homeschool, she's like, oh, Mommy, I love writing. I'm like, have at it. I have one that loves drawing. Have at it. My son is very much into football. Anything football, have at it. The beautiful thing too is he can play football while being homeschooled. So next year he will be in high school football. He will not attend the school, but the beautiful thing is he can still play. So I take homeschooling as not just being home and they can get up whenever they want to and don't have to do a full day. I define homeschool as they get to be out of the classroom, outside of the box, outside of the norm, still learning, still piquing interest, still being themselves, and still growing. And then, two, having a social life with other homeschoolers so they're not missing out on activities. They still get to, you know, be taught and they still get to grow. And guess what? I have a teenager, another one is about to be a teen the end of the month, and a preteen. And believe me, they have not missed any stage of anything being homeschooled in that regard. They get to still express themselves and they get to choose also, do I really want to do this today if I'm not up to par when I can do it another day and be more successful? So I like the flexibility of homeschool. I love being a Floridian. I love our homeschool setup, and each state is different. And I have friends that have moved from other states, and they have loved homeschool where they were and now. And they say either way, they would never send their children back to public school. So that's what is homeschooling to me. It is what you make it at home for children to grow academically, physically, and spiritually and mentally.
All right, beautiful, beautiful. Walitha, thank you so much for that beautiful explanation. All right, so I hope you guys are taking note of that. So, of course, save any questions about that, we'll address at the end. All right, so moving right along to our second speaker for today. So her name is Tamara Somerville. So she will answer, so it's a two-part question. So the first part is what is the paperwork involved and how does standardized testing work? So let me tell you about her. So Tamara is a working homeschooling mom. She co-founded the Facebook group Westchester Homeschoolers to connect homeschooling moms like herself to other homeschooling moms in Westchester County to foster relationships, increase socialization among their children, and navigate the daunting paperwork for homeschooling in New York State. She also co-authored the book African American Families: Why We Homeschool, which will provide the details later. Full time, she works at her company, Classical Conversations, establishing weekly homeschool communities to equip families to successfully homeschool through high school. All right, Tamara, you are up. Come on down.
Good afternoon, everyone. Um, I I get such joy in helping to relieve parents of the stress of homeschool regulations. It can seem so overwhelming when you read and print 100 pages of paper to tell you what to do to homeschool. But I want to try to relieve some of that anxiety. My first year, I've been homeschooling since 2013. Started with two kids when my daughter was in second grade. That daughter is now a sophomore in college. So yes, your homeschoolers will get into college. She's at a public school down in North Carolina. She's a theater major. She's a resident assistant. She's head of the two student organization. So she's doing well, and she's been homeschooled since second grade. My youngest is now a freshman in high school. He has only been homeschooled, and he's doing well as also. So one of the things I experienced my very first year of homeschooling, I read my regulations. New York, New York is the opposite of Florida. While I love your weather, and I would obviously trade your regulations for mine, but it's not that bad. Well, read the regulations. I submitted my paperwork to the local school district, and I get an email back from the superintendent saying you're required to submit uh, testing scores. And I looked back at my regulations, and it was nothing but the grace of God that prompted me to say, go copy the regulations and send it back to him. So I just copied and pasted a portion of the regulation, sent it back, and he was like, oh, okay. But what sounded like, hey, I'm the authority, I know what's best, you have to do this, um, that was a bit scary at first. And so I want to help us just understand, like when school authorities are sending us information and asking us to do things, a lot of the times they don't know. Most of the times they haven't read the regulations, so you want to make sure you do that. So I want to give you 4 things you should do with regulations and or testing. Number 1, find your regulations. I'm going to give you all 4 first, so write them down. Find your regulations, read your regulations, ask questions, and borrow someone else's. So let's break that down. Finding your regulations, you're going to find 2 main sources. One is going to be, and you'll hear from a representative later today, but hslda.org. hslda.org. That is the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. They have every state, and if I don't know if it's every country, but they do have some countries. They have all the regulations listed in one place. Thank you, Gabrielle. All the regulations listed in one place. So if you move states, if you're moving to another state, you can figure out what regulations occur for which state. So find your regulations. The other place you can find that is your state homeschool organization. So that is MACHI if you're in Maryland. That's HOME if you're in Maine. LEA if you're in New York. And JOY if you're in New Jersey. Find out what is your state's homeschool organization, and they will likely have a copy there as well. So that's 2 places you can find your homeschool regulation. That's the first thing you want to do. The next thing I'm going to suggest is, of course, read the regulations. And there's a couple of things I'm going to ask you to do when you're looking at this. Read the entire thing all the way through, just so you get a feel for what is being asked of you, but read it with a pen. everything you don't understand, put a question down, write down some notes, anything that comes up, you're like, well, how would I do that? Or where do I get that from? Write those things down as you are reading it. And I would suggest for you, print it, print a copy. Don't just read it online. Print a copy so you can jot down notes. That's going to be important for you later on. But you want to write down those questions. Now, if you're a state that has no regulations or very little regulations, you can relax. Job done. You've read the regulations. You don't have to. You don't have to do anything else. Or you have very little regulation, like maybe you have to send a notification that says, "Hey, I'm going to be homeschooling," or maybe you just have to send in a test. But depending on your state, your regulations are going to be very different. Everything from do you need to notify the local school board? Do you need to send in quarterly reports? Do you need testing? All of those things are what you're looking for. What's going to be required of you as a homeschooler in your state or in your country. So you want to find those things. But the other thing I want you to do, even after you've read the regulations your first time, each year that you are homeschooling, reread your regulations for two things: for age and stage. If you started and your child was 4, there may have been, even in a high regulation state like New York, there would have been very little you need to do when your child was 4. But now that your child is 10, there may be other things that need to be done now that your child is 10. So you don't just want to go on memory and say, oh, well, I've been doing this for X number of years, so I know what to do. You want to reread it each year based on their age. The next thing you're looking for is the stage. So depending on the time of year, are you just starting to homeschool? Did you just pull your child out of traditional school? And is there a notification requirement? Or you want to consider, if you're already in the middle of the year, is there a quarterly report that needs to be done? So, and you can usually set those schedules. So depending on what stage of homeschooling you're in, according to your regulations, you want to look back at those two things each year. Based on my child's age and grade, what should I be doing this year? And based on what time of year we're in, what is the school district or whoever the reporting authority is? And I say authority very loosely, but whoever the reporting body is, what are they looking for at this time of year? So you want to reread it for those two things. I'm going to recap reading. You're going to print it out, read it with a pen so that you can write down questions and put them down on paper. Next, I want you to read like I said, if you don't have any regulations for your state and it just says, happy homeschooling, then relax and move on. But as you're reading the sections, you want to reread it each year based on your child's age or grade and the stage of the year that you were in, the time of year that you're in. So you want to reread it for those reasons. Each year, I talk about reading that annually, but you're going to take those questions that I told you to write down, and you want to go and ask a veteran homeschooler, ask a homeschool support group. Hey, what about these things? It says this. Does it mean I can or can't do this? Not just going to write those questions down and leave them in a book. You want to go ask a veteran homeschool person. And again, you're going to go back to your HSLDA or back to a state org or just a local homeschool mom. Or in my case, what I did was I set up a Facebook group to ask those questions too. So you want to find those veteran homeschool moms and find out, hey, the regulation says, and in our state, there has to be a certain number of hours that you as the parent are leading. So you want to be mindful of that so you maintain homeschool status. In other states, are there immunization requirements? Which immunizations are required? So it may not be a whole gamut of things. And who do you report them to? Some states, it is the school itself, like whatever school, local school that you pulled your child from. In other cases, it is the school district or like in New York, it's a superintendent. But in some cases, it is an agency. So the school districts or the state may have hired a particular agency that you send all of your reporting to. So it's not the school district. So you want to find out those things, ask those questions. Another thing to ask is, how do you submit any reports or testing? Can you, when we first started homeschooling, people suggested that you send it, so you put it in a letter, you send it certified receipt so that someone signed for it, and you get a copy back saying someone received it. I did that for maybe the first 2 years, and then I decided, well, I don't want to go to the post office because I always forgot to go. And I would drive around with the letter in my car with the intention of going and never went. And so I decided, let me just email it. And I just asked them to respond, and they did. And so, but you want to find out, is that allowed in your state? So you want to ask those questions to your local people who, a lot of times those regulations were written back in the late 80s and early 90s and have never been updated. So most people weren't doing email back in the late 80s. And so they don't address something like that in your regulations, but you may be able to do it. Or they never went back and addressed the fact that they have an agency that they are asking you to report to, and they didn't go back and rewrite the regulations for that. So you want to ask a veteran homeschooler. If you are in a state that does require testing, in almost every state, you have the option of whether you are going to do group testing. You have the option of whether it is a timed test, and you have the option of choosing a proctored exam. So my very first year, we didn't have to test her that particular year, but my husband and I felt we wanted to see kind of how she's grown. She came out of a private Christian school, and she had been crazy enough. She had done a standardized test in first grade. So we want to see if we can see a level of progression in the second grade. So we decided to test her. We did it as with a group of other parents. I happen to have my bachelor's degree, and so I was able to proctor the exam, but I didn't proctor her grade level exam. Lunchtime, we're out in the playground, and my daughter comes out, and I ask, "Hey, how'd you do?" She goes, "I don't know." I asked the proctor, "How did she do?" And she said, "Well, she didn't finish it." I said, "Well, Raina, why didn't you finish?" She goes, "Because it's playtime." I said, "Babe, that's not how it works." She goes, "Well, all the other kids were done, so I thought we were done too." I decided since I didn't have to submit that particular test, I didn't submit that test because she didn't actually finish it. But I did learn not to test her in a group setting, and so I brought her home to do testing. And we have gone from, and we've changed over the years. We went from doing an untimed paper test, which I had to order, have her do the test, complete the Scantron sheet. Remember those fill in the bubble sheets? Mail that back, get the results. And the reason I chose that was because I didn't want them to be testing on a computer when they hadn't yet learned to type. So once they learned to type, then I moved to computer testing. I wanted to test their knowledge of the content, not their knowledge of the computer. And so I separated out those two things. Once they got old enough, we did move to computer testing, where you can register that day, take it that day, get the score that day. So there are a number of options that you have available to you. And like I said, almost every state will give you a couple of different tests you can choose from, but it is your choice as a parent which test you choose. If you have to do a state test or a standardized test, not a state test, a standardized exam, you often will have options. There's not a prescribed one. And I would wholly suggest, though your local school district may give you the option to participate in testing with the school district, if your child has not been in a huge class and being timed for a test, that is not the time to throw that level of pressure on them. Let them do it at home, or let them do it in a smaller setting. Let them do it untimed if that would help. There are so many options that you can help meet the needs of your child for that. So we covered find the regulations, we covered read the regulations, and we've covered ask about those regulations. The last one is borrow. Unfortunately, in school, we were pretty much taught that if you borrowed someone's answers, it was cheating. But in our adult life, we constantly cheat by going and asking Google all the things that we don't know, because we recognize we're not required to know everything. We're required to find the things that we need to know. So if another parent is using similar curriculum to you and is in your state, ask them to see their regulations. Copy and paste. I can tell you how many times in my first couple of years, I took the HSLDA sample regulation, or the New York State sample regulation, changed the name on the top, and sent it off. It is there. It is so unbelievable that they, with whatever regulations they put out, They are not looking to see, well, did you follow to the letter this, 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 and this? In most cases, the state needs to send you a format to use for reporting, but you are not required to use their format. So it can be any format you want. You just got to make sure you have the content that is required from them, but how you present that content is totally up to you. So why figure it out? If you've got a homeschool mom with the same age kid in the same grade using the same curriculum, borrow the one they've been successfully submitting for the last 3 years, change the name, change the student, change the address, and go ahead and submit it. It will make your life easier. There are lots of other things that are going to consume your time and your energy in homeschooling. Don't let this be one of them. Your child is going to progress. Your child is going to learn, because nobody's going to put more care and attention into the needs of your child than you. So they are going to learn. So you can rest assured that collaboration is not cheating. We're adults. That's no longer a thing. We're not in that environment anymore. So please borrow what you need. We have I have changed a few school districts over the course of my time homeschooling. I was in a different school district than the first one I mentioned in the story earlier. And this school district asked me to submit a birth certificate for my children. Remembered from my first example, I copied that part of the regulation and emailed it back to her. I said, I'm not required to submit that type of documentation. You need their ages, which I've provided for you. And she said, nope, I need that information. And again, please show me where in the state regulations you see that this information is required for me to provide to you. She finally picked up the phone and called me and said, Miss Somerville, you're right. I don't need that from you. The problem is that our system requires the actual full date of birth to calculate the child's age. It's not a you problem, it's an us problem. And so I still didn't provide her the birth certificate, but I did provide her the full birth date so that she could have that to put in the system. But it's a matter of talking to them. So I want to leave you with these final words. It is your confidence in your competence of the regulations that is your best flex. You want to be able to breeze through homeschool reporting and homeschool testing. The better you know the regulations, you will feel the confidence no matter who asks you what question. If you have the people around you to support you, if you have a copy of your regulations with your notes and the answers, or you have people around you who you can ask these questions to, that is your best flex. Enjoy your homeschool journey. Find your regulations, read your regulations, ask someone for help, and borrow their stuff. Don't do this by yourself.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Tamara. Can I get some reactions? Let me get some reactions, some
Those
hand
hand
claps.
claps, no hearts.
Yes, let me see some reactions, you guys. All right, so beautiful. All right, I'm seeing the hearts. I'm seeing hearts. I'm seeing hearts. Yes, love it, love it, love it. Let me see those reactions, you guys. Let me see those hand claps, commentary. Yes, yes. We want this to be interactive, you guys. I'm loving it, loving it, loving it. All right, well, thank you so much, Tamara, for that. Okay. All right, keep them coming, keep them coming. Loving the reactions, you guys. Loving it, loving it. All right, so moving right along, we're going to get into our next topic, which is how do you choose a curriculum? So I will be the one presenting that. So first, let me tell you a bit about myself. So full disclosure, I'm not a homeschooling parent, nor am I a parent. However, I am a passionate advocate for equal access to education. So while in graduate school, I observed the academic challenges faced by working class families, particularly families of color, and recognized that existing tutoring companies were insufficient in addressing their needs. So motivated to make a difference, I founded my company, A Step Ahead Tutoring Services, in 2013, drawing from my own experiences in the tutoring industry. My mission, so my personal mission, is to address the academic disparities faced by both working class, and middle class families while transforming the life trajectories of my students. So by improving their academic performance, I aim to facilitate their entry into college and the workforce, reduce the income gap in education, promote greater racial and gender diversity in employment, and contribute to safer communities. I'm dedicated to empowering students, and I believe that addressing their challenges early in life can lead to meaningful solutions for our society later in life. So that is a bit about me. So now give me a minute. So I have a PowerPoint slide. So I'm going to demonstrate for you guys. Okay. No, yes, screen controls. All right. So if you see like gray squares on the screen, I do apologize for that. All right. So let me get my slideshow going. Yes, there we are. All right. All right, so I am going to address the topic, how do you choose a curriculum? So I'm going to talk about what you need to know about selecting the right curriculum for your homeschool. So first, I'm just going to do a quick recap. So in the beginning of this workshop, we answered the question, what is homeschooling? So we defined it for you. So just now with Tamara, we talked about the paperwork involved and how does standardized testing work depending on your state. So now I am the third one, which is how do you choose a curriculum? So now you've you already pulled your child out of school, you already did your affidavit, letter of intent, you already started the process, and now it's time to begin. And you have 7 days before you officially start. So you got your school supplies, you got your desk, you got your chair, you got your cute storage. Well, you need your children. You got your children. You already did your letter of intent, you did your affidavit, you already made that request, you already spoke to the district. But now that you have officially started your homeschool, you have no idea what to do, how to start. You don't know what you're going to teach. You need a curriculum. So that's where I come in. So first, let me define that for you. What is it? What is a curriculum? So I want you to think about it like a roadmap. So you are the teacher and your student is your child, right? And the curriculum gives you a direction of where to go in terms of what to teach your child. And depending on which curriculum you use, they each come with a set of goals, methods, materials, and assessments, and all designed to help you teach those courses. And it's designed to structure your learning experience and your child's learning experience as well. And it's also organized in a way that you could your learning, plan the learning experience of your child, right? So you can customize it in the way that you want it to go. So again, depending on which one you use, because there is a number of different ones that you can use, it will tailor your lesson planning. And you can personalize it in the way that best fits you and your child, and you can be flexible with it. All right. And you would pick the one that fits your child the most. So every curriculum has a set of subjects, and there are core subjects. So let's get right into that. So one of the subject is the arts, right? Whether that's learning, and depending on your state, some subjects are required and some are electives. But definitely, I believe arts is an elective. It might be a requirement in your state. But things like, so for arts, that might be like learning an instrument, that might be painting, that might be any kind of creative expression. Arts is one of those subjects. So language arts, which is reading and writing, that is a requirement. So you need your reading, you need your writing, definitely need to have your language arts. Math, you got to have your math, you guys. You cannot avoid math. You will not believe how many times people complain about math, but you need your math, you guys, and math is one of those requirements. Physical development, so that might be doing some kind of fitness or gymnastics, some kind of physical activity. So science is another one, so that might be biology, chemistry, geography, geology, right? So any kind of science. You need your social science, so that might be more um, psychology, that might be sociology, things where you're studying like human behavior. Technology, you can incorporate technology into your curriculum. So if your child is interested in computers, coding is huge. So if your child is interested in coding, typing, computers, graphic design, app design, things like that, you may want to incorporate that in your classroom. Social emotional development, so that's more pre-K level, but that's more about like emotional regulation. That's more about shaping how understanding their emotions, understanding the world around them. So that's more for pre-K. So this one starts from kindergarten, but health and safety. So you may want to implement like first aid training. You may want to fire safety, things like that. So that one's from kindergarten and up. So let's talk about the philosophy of homeschooling. So this is something that you have to decide for yourself as the parent. So one of the things that you want to think about as you're choosing a curriculum is what type of homeschool do you have right now or think that you would like to have? Another thing you want to think about as you are choosing your curriculum and presenting your curriculum is how do you want to present it? Are you looking for more hands-on? Are you looking for something online? How do you want to present it? And what guidelines or methods should you adopt to fit in your home? So do you want something more, you want to follow the way that the schools are doing it. So maybe something like the Common Core if you're in New York. Or do you want more, something more religious focused, right? Co-religious based learning is another thing that people go into homeschooling. So where where do you want it to go? Do you want it to align more with your religion? Do you want it to align it more with the schools? Do you want it to align it more with a certain type of belief? Do you want more, maybe you want more Afro-centered or Hispanic-centered? Whatever your direction is, you want to decide where do you want to go. So choosing a philosophy is up to you, right? So, but the thing you want to keep in mind is you have to, yes, you want to align with your own beliefs. That's fine. But you also want to choose something that will work with your child. So you want to choose things that will attract their interest, right? So whatever way that will get them engaged more and that they will succeed across all subjects more, that's something that you want to choose for your child. But ultimately, it is up to you, and it's up to you to find that balance for your family. All right, so on the screen, there's several types of methods that you can use, several types of curriculums that you may want to consider. So I know a lot of people use the Montessori method, which I'm just gonna cite from the HSLDA, but like Montessori, they're more hands-on alongside all ages. They use more sensory items, real tools. They use books. It's child-centered, home design. There's a mixed age collaborative approach. So if you have multiple children, it might be putting multiple ages in one group. That one's more child-centered, so that one's more Montessori. You may want something like the Waldorf method, again, which I'm going to quote. So that one is in 7-year cycles to fit their development. It's more creative, it's more artistic, hands-on learning, arts, handcraft, songs, mythology, storytelling. That already sounds pretty interesting. Um, Wally talked about unschooling. So that one is more learning at the child's pace, I don't want to say learning as you go along, but letting the child decide what they want to learn, more or less. So those are some things that you want to do. That's not what you want to do, excuse me. That might be something you want to think about. Unit studies, again, let me quote. So that one incorporates more field trips, costumes, model building, timelines, um, capitalizes on kids' natural bent towards patterns, themes, and interests, more hands-on activities. So there you go. So that one is unit study. So that might be something that you're interested in, right? Or maybe an eclectic method. Maybe you don't like to pick one. You like a little bit of everything, right? A piece of Montessori, a piece of Waldorf, a piece of unit study, a piece of Charlotte Mason, and put it all together. You can also do an eclectic method as well. So who is the teacher? You. You are the teacher. You are the teacher. Understandably, there may be some parents who don't necessarily want to be the teacher. There are options for you if you don't necessarily want to do it yourself. So it could be you again, but with an assisting tool. So there are curriculums that come with workbooks, for example. Um, so there's you yourself, and you're the one doing all the teaching with the subjects, and then there's you, but then you may want to have a pre-planned curriculum and you're just following that, right? But ultimately it's still you facilitating it, but there are workbooks that you're following as a guide. So you can do that too. You're allowed to get tutors. So if you want a tutor to do the teaching, you are allowed to use tutors for your homeschooling. So I want to emphasize, check the rules of your state. So I think it's different in every state, but for the most part, you're allowed to use tutors. In Online Academy, there are a plethora of academies out there, and a lot of them are online. So basically, it's the entire curriculum, schooling, everything is in like an online school, pretty much. So if you want to just like plop your kid in front of a computer and say, listen, you're just going to follow whatever they're telling you here, you could do that as well. So there are a lot of online academies that are out there. There are these things called homeschool co-ops, which I'm going to discuss with you in a little bit. And the next presenter is going to talk about this, but this is something that popped up for me last year as we did this, but micro schools is another way that you could do your homeschooling. So I'm going to let the next presenter talk more about that, but micro schools is another thing that you could do. All right, so let's talk about homeschool co-ops. Homeschool co-ops, what are they? So it's pretty much a group of families. They're coming together to teach their children all of those subjects, right? The math, the language arts, the creative arts, the technology. It's a bunch of families. They're coming together to teach their kids in a shared learning environment. So the families work as a team and they allow their kids to learn from different parents or teachers, so not just their mom and dads. So, it's like a few families, they're coming together. The parents are still the teachers, but the kids are learning from other parents that are in that group. And they can offer a variety of subjects. So they can have your maths, your sciences, to creative activities like art and music. So this allows your children to get a well-rounded education. And these groups, they provide a chance for families to connect with and support each other, creating a community of learners. So this one is more of a group setting, but it's multiple families coming together to teach their children. But it's the parents are still the teachers, but they're learning from other parents. So if you are interested in a group setting for your child, so these are things to look for if you are interested in a co-op. What is the goal of the co-op, right? So is it art focus? Is it academic focus? Is there a specific belief? Is it um, what is their philosophy? So as I was talking about philosophy in the beginning, what is the co-op's philosophy? So that's something you want to look for, and does it align with your own? Is it religious? Religious. Religious. Is it secular? Are you looking for something religious? Are you looking for something Christian focused or Islam focused or Judaism focused? Or are you not trying to do all that religion stuff? Are you looking for something more secular, non-religious? What are you looking for? So what classes do they offer? Do they give you the full spectrum of classes you're looking for? Do they offer electives like life skills, like learning how to cook? Do they do advanced subjects like calculus? So how many days a week does the co-op meet? So co-ops, it's not always every single day. So you would want to decide how many days you're looking to do. Are you looking for a couple of days a week? Are you looking for 3 days a week, 4 days a week? So that's one of the things you want to look for is how many days you want your child to be learning and how long do the classes last. So a lot of co-ops are different. So some might be shorter days, some may be longer days. So it's not all the same. So you want to decide how long you want the classes to be, how many days a week you're looking for. And do they do fun activities? Do they allow for things like theater, like plays? Do they allow for sports? Do they allow for field trips? So do they do extra things like that? Do they have extracurricular activities like that? So if you are interested in that for your child and you want a co-op setting, a group learning setting, that might be something you are interested in, and that might be something to look for. Okay, so you would have to find the co-ops, right? But I wanted to put this in there. So now you may be of an entrepreneurial spirit, and maybe you decided, depending on where you are, depending on your state, um, what's out there is it may not be what you're looking for. Your child may have unique needs, or it doesn't align with your particular philosophy. So depending on what is available, it may not be what you're looking for. And if you have that entrepreneurial spirit, you may want to start your own. So if you want to start your own co-op, what do? Same thing. What is your purpose? You need a purpose. You need a goal, you guys. What is your purpose? What is your goal? Are you focused on arts? Are you focused on academics? Is it focusing on a specific belief? What is your purpose? Is your intention to be religious? Is your intention to be secular? That's something you want to keep in mind when you're starting your own co-op. Are you offering the full spectrum of classes? Are you offering things like life skills? Are you offering advanced subjects like calculus? So that's something to keep in mind. How many days do you want to meet? Do you want 3 days? Do you want to meet 4 days? How long do you want your classes to last? So that's something you got to think about as well. Do you want to incorporate fun activities in your co-ops? Do you want to do sports? Do you want to do field trips? Are you interested in theater and you do your in-house theater production? Do you want to add that to your co-op? And you also have to pair up with other families as well, right? Because it's not just you, it's other parents and their kids. So who do you want to connect with to make that co-op? And as always, consult the laws of your states. I cannot stress this enough. The rules might be different in every state. So please consult the laws of your state when it comes to starting a co-op. All right, so we're going to talk about micro schools in a bit, but there are some key differences between the two. So I wanted to make a point to highlight that. Um, okay. So I wanted to make a point to highlight that. So co-ops, they typically meet for 4 days or less, 4 days or less a week, right? So they're not always 5 days a week. So the schedules are flexible, which is decided by the families. So it may not be the same consistent time every week. It may be we're going to have classes in the morning one day and classes in the evening another day, right? So classes are very flexible. And the parents are the teachers. So now when it comes to micro schools, so they are usually 5 days a week. So they follow a more stricter format. So they follow a more structured schedule, pretty much like a traditional school. They provide a learning routine. Um, so while they're more loose in their schedule, but micro schools tend to be very strict. So they have a set number of hours, they have a set number of days, which is usually 5 days a week. So there are some key differences between the two. And you decide maybe you like the group setting, you want your child interacting with other kids. So you might consider a co-op as one option. You might consider a micro school as another option. But these are some key differences between the two. And parents are, so it's either parents or hired professionals. So they are the teachers. So parents are the teachers, or they may have hired certified teachers to be the ones to teach, but either or, they're the ones that are teaching. All right, so I'm just going to cycle back to the curriculums now. All right, so if you are interested in a faith-based curriculum, so if you want more religion focused, so here are some examples of ones that you may consider. Easy Peasy is very popular. There's one called Total Language Plus. I believe that one is Christian. So there's a few others that are on the screen right now. So like Alpha Omega Academy, Abika. These are some examples of ones that you can use if you want more of a faith-based curriculum. So if you're looking for more of an ethnic-based curriculum, so something more racially centered, here are a few of them that are African American centered. So you may want to try like a Kukomo or Kamalia Academy. If you want more Native American focused, you may want to look at Native Child Curriculum or Native Knowledge 360 Degrees, which is what it's called. Um, so if you want something that's more culture focused based on your own culture, here are some examples of ones that are there. So it's not a lot that I found for Asian American, but it's not to say that they don't exist. So please let me know if there are any Asian centered curriculum, but I'm sure that they're out there. And here are some ones that are Latino focused. So Novus Pasum, Lamanhas. Here's some examples of some more ethnic based curriculums that are out there. So whatever that you decide, right? I know I'm throwing a lot of information at you, but again, I just do want to emphasize that whichever you decide, you want to pick the format that best fits your child. So do you think your child will do better with workbooks, physical textbooks? Do you think they'll do better with an online curriculum? Do you think they'll do better with a mix? So whatever it is, maybe you want more books, maybe you want more online, maybe you want a mix of the two. But whatever it is, you would need to decide what will work best for your child in terms of how that curriculum is presented. So a lot of this stuff is available online, but you would have to look for it, right? So you would have to do your research, you guys, and finding out what's there. So you can Google some curriculums, you can talk to friends and family. Social media is also an option. So I highly recommend social media, even though it's slowly killing us. But I highly recommend social media to find out what curriculums are out there, which ones exist that you can look into. All right, so there's some more resources, just giving it all to you guys. Mia Academy is another one. So that one is full online and accredited. There's the curriculumstore.com. There's Singapore Math. That's another one I keep seeing popping up. Time for Learning, Power Homeschool, Spectrum Workbooks. I do like Spectrum Workbooks. So that one is ordered by grade. So, but it doesn't really explain how to do things. It's really more supplemental. But I do like Spectrum Workbooks. So these are some other examples of things that you may use for your own homeschool. Well, not things, but curriculum that you may use for your own homeschool. So here are some more examples of what you may decide you want for your child. So going back to the subjects to teach, so in most states, there are rules about which subjects that you have to teach, but they vary. But in 32 out of 50 states, so there are specific requirements. So just reiterating again, right? Just saying it again. So choosing a curriculum, they come with complete packages. So you have the main subjects, right? There's the reading, there's the writing, there's social studies, science, and math. So these are essential, and they are important to have for a well-rounded education. So those are your essential subjects, right? And all the others are electives. So there's another thing I also want to highlight. So when your child starts ninth grade, it's a good idea to figure out which subjects are needed for getting into college. So if college is your goal and your child's goal, I want to emphasize if it's your child's goal as well to go to college, you may want to structure their curriculum in a way that is college college ready, right? And so that might be AP classes, that might be like the advanced maths, like calculus. So you may want to form their curriculum and form their classes in a way that gets them ready for college. And that's something you should start thinking about from ninth grade. So now, should you decide to homeschool until 12th grade, it's important for you to research the graduation requirements of your states to make sure that they are eligible for graduation. So I'm gonna let Lanissa talk more about that later. But you can homeschool up through 12th grade. So should you decide to pursue that, make sure you research the graduation requirements of your state. So in addition to the core subjects, so kind of circling back, so there are your elective courses. So you may have things like foreign languages, dance, arts. You could add more life skills. You want to teach cooking, you want to teach finance, you want to teach home economics. So maybe you want to incorporate more life skills into your curriculum. You could do that as well. So I'm full of resources today. Here's a few more. IXL is another one. So IXL is another one that has a complete curriculum and is broken down by grade. Again, they don't really explain well how concepts work, but it's good for supplemental instruction. So IXL is a good one. Bookshark is another complete curriculum. I believe that one's not religious. That one is secular, I believe. A to Z homeschooling.com is another one that is a complete curriculum. And here's some more. So Khan Academy is a popular one. I believe Khan Academy is more math focused, but are, there are, I guess courses that cater to language arts. So they do offer a variety of courses. I personally find that they're more math and science centered. But Khan Academy is another one. Kuda Software is a good one in terms of um, free resources for math. K5 Learning is another one that has free worksheets. That's from kindergarten to fifth grade. Teachers Pay Teachers is another good one. Oh, sorry, all of these on the screen, there are free resources. A lot of them are, they just provide worksheets for you to download. Um, yeah. So Teachers Pay Teachers is another one. So some are free and some are paid if you do decide to use Teachers Pay Teachers. But that one I really like as well. So maybe you want to figure out how to teach your child how to write an essay. If you go to Teachers Pay Teachers, they actually have templates for you to use. So that one, I really like that one. But these are some free or low cost resources for you as well to incorporate into your curriculum. You could change your curriculum at any time, you guys. I do want to emphasize that. You don't have to pick one and stick to it. You can do one, and if you decide it's not really working out, you can switch, and you can switch at any time and at any point. All right, so 5 non-negotiables, and I'm coming to the end. So number 1, you want to assess your child's strengths and weaknesses by doing tests. So you want to implement assessments in some way, shape, or form. Depending on your state, they may be required. But if you're in a looser state where assessments are not really emphasized, you may want to implement assessments anyway. So you want to see where your child is in terms of what they know and don't know. You want to keep track of your child's progress, right? So you want to evaluate their assignments. You want to take good notes. You want to see how they're doing in each subject and use that to decide what you're going to teach next. So keep track of your child's progress. So depending on the state, they may require you to keep a portfolio of your child's work. So that might mean like a folder of all the assignments they've done, the projects they've done, all the things that they wrote, the worksheets, right? So depending on your state, they may require you to keep a portfolio. So if you're curious or your state requires it, again, going back to the standardized testing, um, you may be curious to see how would they do on a Regents, for example, if you're in New York, or how would they do on a state test? Um, so if you are curious to see how would they do, you're welcome to do that as well. And choosing grade level standards and setting goals for your family, of course. So setting goals for your children to follow, and especially on grade level, but then also if you find that they're advanced, you don't have to like okay, if your child's around 8 years old, so normally that's like third and fourth grade. If you find that they're so advanced that they're doing well on the fifth and sixth grade level, that's fine. So you don't have to be, you could start age appropriate, I would say, but if they're excelling pretty quickly, you don't have to stay on that grade level. So if you're like, oh, they're doing well on fourth grade, on fifth grade, on sixth grade, you can advance, right? You can have an accelerated curriculum, an accelerated classroom. Or if you find that, okay, so that's third and fourth grade if they're 8 years old, but it's taken a while for them to figure that out, you can go down, right? So let's try a second grade level. Maybe we need to go all the way down to a first grade level, right? So it's wherever your child is, right? So you may want to do depending on your child, it may be an accelerated curriculum, or it might be something at a slower pace, but it doesn't have to be age appropriate. Um, or grade appropriate. Let me rephrase that. It doesn't have to be grade appropriate. All right, so I'm just throwing out some additional resources. So there's a website, Haskell Education Network. So this website here, if you are looking for co-ops, classes, tutors, sports teams, learning centers, if you want somewhere to find these things in your area, you can go to haskelled.com. And there's also KaiPod Learning. So if you're interested in the micro school and you want to find what's in your area, there's a database here called kaipodlearning.com. So you can look at those two as well. All right, so good luck on your journey. So I know I threw out a lot of information, but just to emphasize again that it is all trial and error. So you got to figure it out as you go along. It's not a one size fit answer. It is going to involve experimentation. So you do have to exercise patience, and you do have to be persistent. But whatever curriculum you decide, eventually you will find that path if you stay persistent and you stay focused. That is um, that is very, very key. Okay, so that is it in regards to my presentation. Um, So now we will move right along to the fourth question. All right, so Lindsay, you are up. So let me go ahead and introduce Lindsay. So Lindsay is the next speaker, and she is going to talk more about the micro schools. So let me tell you about her. So she's going to answer the question, what is a micro school? So Lindsay is the co-founder and head of learning at Schoolio, an innovative educational platform supporting children outside the traditional school system in homeschools and micro schools around the world. A certified so a certified teacher with qualifications in primary through intermediate education and special education certification, Lindsay also holds an executive MBA from the Schoolic School of Business and a Leaders in Learning certificate from the Harvard Graduate School of Education. She is a certified neurodiversity coach, helping families with kids who have ADHD or autism. She specializes in neurodiversity and social emotional learning and is an accomplished speaker, educational coach, and consultant. And as a leader in alternative education, Lindsay is dedicated to supporting and advocating for the needs of neurodivergent learners and education. All right, so Lindsay, you are up. Come on
Awesome.
down.
Thank you for the intro. I will just share my screen. Hopefully technology wants to cooperate with me today. Doesn't always. All right, so hi everyone, I'm Lindsay from Schoolio, and we're gonna do sort of a quick run through of what microschooling is. Microschooling is a really big movement, growing rapidly across North America. So there's a lot to it, but we'll sort of hit the highlights. So what exactly is a microschool? If you're new to alternative education, you might not have even ever heard this term before. So microschools are small, more community-focused educational environments where the emphasis is really on personalized learning. So a lot of people say it's sort of like a modernization of the one-room schoolhouse. So we're talking about usually very small teacher to student ratios. So a micro school might not necessarily mean that there's a small number of students, though it definitely can. But it could be bigger, but there's a smaller teacher to student ratio. So unlike traditional schools, micro schools have these low student to teacher ratios. They usually use flexible curriculum, so they're not bound by whatever the state has designated as curriculum expectations. They're usually operated independently by passionate educators who may or may not be trained teachers. So they might be experts in a niche area. They might just be passionate homeschooling parents. But microschools really provide a more like tailored, individualized approach to education. It lets the school sort of address each student's unique needs and their different learning styles a lot easier. And they often have sort of a niche or a particular area of focus that aligns with the founder's passions and talents. So you might find a micro school that's very STEM oriented or music oriented or designed for special needs kids or any sort of niche area like that. So where traditional schools have much larger class sizes, they have standardized curriculum, and that often leads to the individual students and individual student needs being overlooked. It's really traditional school, as you know, is very like a one size fits all model, where micro schools can be really adaptive and flexible learning environments. They can really customize the educational experiences to each student because they're so small. So then they also have the ability to do like future ready learning. So a lot of parents are seeking sort of more modernized models of education that include things like emerging technology, financial literacy, social emotional skills, other sorts of things that they feel like traditional schools are missing, micro schools are able to focus on. And of course, like I said, the opportunity for specialized learning. So you can choose a micro school for your students that has a specialization or a niche that resonates with you, your family, or your particular child. So I've met homeschooling parents who have different children going to different micro schools because one child is specializing in, hockey training alongside their education, the other's doing STEM focused or whatever. And so, yeah, sports, arts, STEM, neurodivergent learners, agriculture. I've actually run my own micro school out of our hobby farm. So there's lots of different sort of specializations in that way, or they might be geared around a specific learning style, like Gabrielle mentioned, Montessori or Waldorf or Charlotte Mason. You can have micro schools that are designed around those philosophies. And then the other thing about micro schools basically is that they usually have strong connections between the students, the teachers, and the parents. So it's very parental and community involved. It's quite often sort of supportive, collaborative, sort of educational community is, I think, the best word for it. So why are parents looking for micro schools? And if you're here interested in homeschooling, you're probably one of these parents who is looking for some of these different experiences, different needs for your students. So they're flexible and they can have personalized learning. Micro schools can adapt their curriculum and their teaching methods to suit the needs and interests of their students, either as a group or uniquely. So you might find a micro school that specifically serves neurodivergent learners. That would be sort of being adaptive to the group needs. But then also, even within a traditional sort of micro school, maybe without a niche, they can still really uniquely cater to each student's needs much more easily, which leads us into individual attention. With fewer students, the teachers can focus more on each child. Some micro schools even have let the parents choose some of the curriculum. So some micro schools might say, from 1 to 2:30 is our online learning portion, and parents might choose what that what curriculum, what online learning program their kids use for that specific time. And then there's, of course, the homeschool experience. So the intimacy of micro school is akin to that homeschool experience, which is great for some families that aren't able to fully homeschool. And then sort of one of the biggest ones is just parental dissatisfaction with the traditional school. So there's lots of reasons for that. And some of these look familiar to you because they're the same for homeschooling. Reasons why parents are leaving traditional school. Number one is concerns about safety. So that was bullying, drugs, and school shootings. Dissatisfaction with the quality of school instruction, desire for specialized learning, desire for non-traditional learning methods. So that's they want Montessori learning or something specific around the teaching model. Then number 5 was actually parents leaving school because their child has a disability, neurodivergency, or a mental health problem, which we have seen really escalating at Schoolio. We've seen much more parents and micro school founders who are finding that this is the reason for a lot of the kids joining them. And then the last one was other, which included like family time and wanting to travel and stuff like that. And then this one little pie, I just find this a really interesting questionnaire. I think it was from 2022 that showed that as much as 72% of American parents say they are dissatisfied with their children's current education, and 63% are actively looking for an alternative option. So as a new homeschooling parent, you have a lot to think about, I know, but you may be thinking about micro schools as well. And it might be in one of 2 ways. I'm going to quickly talk about both. So you might be thinking of possibly looking for a micro school to send your kids to. Or you might be thinking like, hey, this is something I would love to do, which I'll talk about next. But first, if you're looking for a micro school, micro schools are growing exponentially. They're growing year over year. And the schools that do exist, most of them are expanding their enrollment year over year. So they are out there, but it can be harder to find. There's not, that I'm aware of, a really all-inclusive like database of all micro schools. It's sort of, there are some databases out there you can go to. It's sort of hit and miss. Like I don't mean hit and miss. They're not, there's not one place that has all of them. You can, for example, go to the KaiPod website and they will have a database of all the KaiPod micro schools, or you can go to Prenda and they'll have a database of all the Prenda micro schools. So you got to do a little bit of digging to maybe find the ones in your area, but you can find them. And then basically there are a few big things that you want to look into before you decide on a micro school. In my opinion, the two most important are always going to be that the school aligns with your values and the educational philosophy aligns with what you're looking for your students. So this school that you choose, whether it's like a part-time 2 days a week school, whether it's full days, Monday to Friday, either way, the school is going to be a huge part of your child's education. So it's really important that you love the mission and the vision of the school, and that it aligns with you and your family and what you're looking for your kids. And then from there, once you know that you have a school with aligned values, aligned educational philosophy, you're really in a good spot. Then the other things you just want to ask about, learn about, make sure work for you is sort of the basic day-to-day and operational pieces. So things like time commitment, if there's parental involvement, some of them operate more like co-ops where you are expected to be involved, how much and when you need to consider, obviously, the tuition, your supplies, the qualifications of the teachers. This does not have to matter to you. Some micro schools are led by teachers, others are not, especially if you're looking for specialized learning like STEM or music, then you might care more about their credentials in that specialized area than them being actual certified teachers. And basics, like safety protocol, are the teachers who work there background checked? Is the location fire inspected, following health and safety, all that good stuff. And of course, if you are choosing a micro school that has a specialized niche, you want to make sure that you know what that means and what sort of their expectation is of what your kids are going to come out of the experience knowing. So for example, my daughter went part-time to a school that was based around her, she's a horseback rider and the training there. So in that case, I wasn't bothered if the instructors were certified teachers because I was doing a lot of the academics at home. But it was more important to me that they were like well respected and successful in their niche, right? So all of that is very like, there's no right or wrong, there's just what you're looking for, and make sure you dug into it and found what you're looking for. So then the other thing is that you might be thinking right now, like, oh, micro schools sound really cool, and I might want to do that for myself. There's a lot of reasons that homeschooling parents are part of the micro school movement in launching micro schools. So you can obviously have some income supplement, or you can make it an entire like entrepreneurial endeavor. You can do passion-driven work, especially if you have an educational mission, which a lot of us homeschoolers do. You can spread that sort of passion to other kids. And for a lot of parents as well, just the opportunity to add some more kids if you're having like an in-home micro school. Add some more kids to your homeschool adventure. You get mixed stage learning, and it's just social and fun. The micro school that I ran was small like that. I just had 3 kids plus my 2 out of my home that was a farm. So we were agriculture focused. But it was a really fun few years that we did that as part of our homeschool journey. So definitely recommend it on that small scale if it sounds like something you're interested in. So what I love about the micro school movement, especially when homeschoolers are involved, is that it helps my homeschool families in 2 ways, right? So there's the parents who want to homeschool or are already homeschooling, but they need some income supplement to make it possible or comfortable. And that's sort of where we were. We're bringing on just a couple extra kids to homeschool alongside your own can make homeschool possible for some of these families. And then the other families are the families who actually would love to homeschool, but they don't have the means to have someone stay at home full time or the ability to work from home. So the microschool movement really gives those families the opportunity to have that homeschool experience with the microschool without actually being able to physically homeschool themselves. So if you are actually considering launching a microschool, here's just sort of 4 get started tips for you. And I'll try to be quick because I'm running out of time. But first of all, manage your income expectations. There is a big difference between a little supplemental income by taking on a couple extra kids versus hoping to replace your income and run a whole school as a business. So make sure you know what you're looking for because they're 2 very different things and keep that in consideration, like keep your goals in consideration when you're planning what you're doing. If you are planning to do this in even small in-home or on a bigger scale, you need to think about pricing, you need to think about your policies, your parent handbook, your student handbook, your behavior agreements. You have to prepare. This isn't something you can just casually launch into. I know as a homeschooling parent, people would ask me all the time, like, can I pay you to homeschool my kids? Because they wanted their kids to be homeschooled, but they didn't want to do the homeschooling. But you don't want to just jump into running a microschool. You need to do your research. You need to prepare. Consider the legalities in your state or province because it varies by state. And a lot of places, because the movement is so new, there's not always specific micro school laws in place. So some places you have to register as like a daycare, some places you have to register as a private school. It's a little bit different everywhere and it can be a little tricky because it's so new. So make sure that you get familiar with that and get help when you need it. And then of course, location is another big one. Are you going to do it in home? If you are, do you have space and time and supplies for that? Are you renting a space? All of that is important considerations. And if you are thinking of launching this as a whole, like real school business, you need to plan and execute things like marketing. You need an enrollment strategy. You need to plan day-to-day operations in addition to the teaching that you're actually going to be doing for all of the actual school day. So it can be very rewarding. It's really fun and it's a great movement. I love the microschooling movement. None of this is to discourage you, just to make sure that you know what you're getting into and you're sort of considering all those pieces before you get going with the homeschool idea or the microschool idea. So yeah, that's pretty much a wrap for me. I'm happy to answer any questions at the end during the Q&A if anybody has questions, follow-up questions.
Fabulous, fabulous. Thank you, Lindsay. All right, let me see those reactions, you guys. Let me see those reactions, hand claps. Thank you, Bree. Thank you, Gloria. Thank you, Deirdre. Marbella, thank you. Loving it, loving it, loving it. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Wymal. Loving all these hand claps. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you guys for your reactions. Loving all these reactions. Keep them coming, guys. Keep them coming. Yes, so we will address all questions at the end. You're welcome to put them in the chat now, but we're going to answer your questions at the end. And just a quick moment to encourage you guys. The link is in the chat to the raffle. So get a chance to win some prizes. So make sure you guys fill out that form for the raffle. Just check out the link in your chat for that. All right, so moving right along, I see my 5th speaker has popped in. So her name is Lanissa. So we're just gonna move right along to her. So our next speaker is Lanissa James. So she will answer the question, how do homeschool children get into college and the military? So let me tell you about her. So a homeschooling mom and leader, Lanissa has a passion to serve the home educating community. She provides social, spiritual, academic, and supervisory support for families and local groups, and encourages and equips homeschool graduates to to transition into colleges, careers, and vocational schools. As an HSLDA high school specialist, Lanissa loves speaking to parents to encourage and support their homeschooling with empathetic, engaging, and practical wisdom. She says, and I quote, "The joy of helping a family feel confident that they can homeschool is priceless." End quote. She earned her BS in journalism from the University of Maryland, College Park, is Myers-Briggs Type Indicator certified, and is pursuing a master's degree in biblical studies. Lanissa is wife to Lorenzo, who also serves the homeschooling community through sports programs, photography services, and photography classes. She is the mother of 7 beautiful homeschooled children, 5 girls and 2 boys, with ages ranging from toddler to young adult. Her hobbies include reading, traveling, photography, and kayaking. All right, Lanissa, you are you are up.
Awesome. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can
You
hear you.
can? I want to be able to share my screen. Thank you so much for having me, Gabrielle. And I appreciate all you're doing for Homeschooling 101 for so many homeschoolers who just need support to do what it is that we do. It's been almost 20 years for me, and it is always a pleasure to reach back and to help others who want to homeschool. And this is a real special day for me because my 5th daughter is headed to college and she's a senior this year. So I'm really in my sweet spot on this topic that you've asked me to speak about. And today she got 2 of her acceptance letters back from college already for 2026. And so getting a early start is very important. And it's also very important for merit scholarships too. So I hope to be able to share my screen, and at the end, I have a QR code that's filled with a lot of links for you that will walk you through some details. Because today, obviously, I'll just have a short time to share, but I want you to be able to walk away with some resources. So, and I also sent the link to you, Gabrielle. So at the end, please feel free to share it again. But is it okay for me to share my screen now?
Yes, yes, you can.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's see if it works. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I'm gonna be in big trouble. I like sharing all of HXLDs. Yeah, let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay. And let me go to presentation mode. Let's see, where is the little button? Where's the little present button? Let's
You can
see.
go to a slideshow.
Say it again.
Go to a slideshow on the top ribbon.
This right here? Not new.
A little higher where it says home, insert, design, transitions. So go
Oh,
to
slideshow.
slideshow and then from
Okay.
beginning.
I can do from the beginning. Okay, great. Thank you. So this is just a snapshot of a course that we teach. It's called Charting Your Way Through High School for College, Career, and Military. So I just want to give you a little taste of what we're sharing publicly to encourage homeschoolers to go on to college, career, and military. So let's take a look. This is the James Party of 9. It's 9 of us. It's never a dull moment. Lots of teens, lots of kids headed to college. My oldest 4 have gone on to college. 2 have already graduated from Salisbury University. 1 is about to graduate this year, I should say 2026, from the University of Maryland, which is also my alma mater. I have a son who is a sophomore at Liberty University, and Lanissa, who's standing right next to me, is the one who is a senior and has already had her college acceptance coming in today. She got 2. And so we're real excited. I do still have a son who is 9th grade and a daughter who is 10. She's in 4th grade. So I'm with you in this journey. I want to give you a snapshot of what 9th grade could possibly look like. Take a look. It's kind of like, what should I be doing to prepare them for higher education? You should be making good course selections. Most colleges and universities already have a list of classes that they want you to take if you're coming into their major. And it could be very different than what the state is requiring. So you do want to be very intentional. Perhaps your state may say you only need 2 maths, but you're trying to apply to a computer science program and they require 4 maths. So you're the guidance counselor. So it's your responsibility to make sure that you're aligning your kids' course selections with where they're going to their journey. Also, extracurricular activities. I'm a big fan of the high school resume. I think it's a great document for you to hand to someone along with your transcript so that they can write letter recommendations. And even if they're going straight to career, it also helps them to write a reference for you or to give a reference. Study skills, time management are so very important to all aspects of life, whether you're college, career, or military. And then, of course, creating a transcript. The transcript is just that one document that everybody sees to kind of sum up how your homeschool journey has gone. People sometimes won't even ask for the diploma. They want to see your transcript. And then course descriptions. Now, usually colleges are not asking for the course descriptions, but it's important for you to know what classes you're teaching. Take a look at 10th grade. In 10th grade, all the same things, but also if you're going into the workforce, researching, if you're going into the military, you want to research careers in the military. College, you want to research whether or not you're going to go in test optional, which has become very popular post-COVID. And so you don't want to sign up for the ACT or SAT and share your scores too soon. You certainly can blind those scores and decide which is the best package for you to present to the school. So doing your research is important. Outside courses we talked about, maybe there are things you're doing that's out of the 5 core: English, math, science, history, foreign language. Maybe there's some other classes. We talked about extracurricular and course descriptions and transcripts. And I also want to show you the next screen that talks about the 11th grade year, which is pretty much the same, but you do more. You know, if you're looking at the workforce and military, you should be getting some training, doing networking, having some career tests. I love the personality assessment. I am certified for the past 20 years. It's gone into the 30 years now with the Myers-Briggs type indicator. Also, I'm DISC certified, the DISC. These assessments help you with your personality and help you pick careers so that a student is on their right track. And then, of course, researching financial aid. Colleges are not cheap, they're expensive. And so you want to find ways, like you hear me telling you about putting an early application in so that you can get merit scholarships. These things are very important and part of the research process if you're looking at higher education. And then, of course, extracurricular course descriptions and transcripts. Which brings me to the 12th grade year. All the same things, except, you know, academics matter. When you're going to college, they're looking at your GPA. They want to know that you kept good records and your transcript is a concise document that they can read. If you're going into the workforce, they want to make sure, you want to make sure that you're doing research, networking, training, talking, maybe even job shadowing. And then for military, you want to make sure that you're preparing for the ASVAB as well as physical preparation, right? If you're going into the military, you should be running every day. So physical being prepared for the military is just as important as the ASVAB. And then, of course, college visits. You know, my daughter has all of them. They visit colleges and she's going back. And this is probably maybe the 3rd time that she is visiting these colleges for one more look for her to make her final decision. So you want to make sure even before the 12th grade that you're doing some college tours. Applications, financial aid, all that's important. Now, specifically about the military, there are 2 tracks: enlistment and military academies. If you're going into enlistment, record keeping, testing, extracurricular, practical tips are important. But if you're going into the academy, you really need a mentor. You need a nomination, somebody to recommend you. So you want to start making those networks. That's important for the military academies. Okay. And then if you're headed off to a 4-year college, You want to become familiar with the online application. Most people are using the Common App. We apply to some schools direct to the university and some on the Common App. And you also want to know, you want to prepare yourself for the time it takes to fill out the Common App. It could be labor intense, but what I do love is once it's done, you can kind of click buttons to the other colleges you'd like to apply to. And in the senior year, the fall, you would have 9th, 10th, and 11th grade transcript, and your senior year is in what we call IP status. That means in progress. So those classes are listed, but they're in progress. And then knowing how you're applying. Are you applying regular admission, early admission, early decision, or is it rolling? Those kinds of dates matter, and you want to make sure you're as early as possible. At HSLDA, we have lots of resources for you, in-depth articles that will help you on our website, live recorded webinars. We did one yesterday for HSLDA members that was for people who maybe college is not an option for you, right? There are other college is only one option. And we did a workshop yesterday, and it was, 800 people registered for this webinar. And so we encourage you to connect with us at hslda.org because we're here to support. We have discounts on our transcript service and all kinds of exclusive downloads for you. So I kind of close with this, why be a member at HSLDA? You're part of a movement. We lobby for homeschool freedom across not only in individual states, but across the nation, across the world. So that's what we do. And membership helps that in making homeschool possible for others. What you get as a member is kind of concise here. You get all the beautiful benefits of legal assistance, member discounts, educational resources, building community. And we also have curriculum grants for people who need support with getting books and curriculum. So we're here to support. This is the QR code that I promised you. And what it is that if you scan, you'll get free resources to support your journey to college, career, and military. And again, you can reach us at www.hslda.org. And we're here to support. And I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to share today. And I'm not sure if you're taking questions now or later, but certainly if you scan this QR code, you will have everything that you need in order to kind of dig even deeper into some of the topics that you heard me talk about today. So thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Lanissa. It's awesome. Awesome. You guys, let me see those reactions, emojis. Let me see it. Let me see them. Beautiful. Seeing the clap. Thank you, Deirdre. Thank you, Gloria. All right. I'm loving all the reactions, you guys. Thank you, Lanissa. Yes. So questions will be at the end. I just wanted to thank you, Susie. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Kalita. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Wally. But yes, all questions we're going to put at the end. So please hold your questions until the end. All right, you guys. So we are going to bring it home. All right, Jan, you're taking us home. All right, so let me introduce the final speaker. So her name is Jan Sixt, and she will answer the question, what are some teaching strategies I can use? So let me tell you about her. Have you tried to explain an assignment to your child only to find that your explanation wasn't understood? Did you lose your child's attention? Did both of you walk away frustrated? Were your child's needs still not met? Here comes our speaker, Jan Sixt. So she's written 2 books, which we're going to talk about a little later. But one is called Teach Your Child to Learn, A Parent's Guide, Simple and Tested Techniques That Work. And the second one is Teach Your Preschooler to Learn, A Parent's Guide, Preparing Your Toddler for School. So both of them we'll talk about a little bit later. So she has a YouTube channel, and on that channel, she has created resources that help both students and parents. So this includes over 1,200 targeted educational videos for ages preschool through 12th grade in a variety of academic subjects. Parents learn how to teach basic foundational concepts calmly and smoothly while helping with schoolwork. So her philosophy, Homeschoolers learn best with a well-organized curriculum that pairs strategy with efficiency. And final point, Jan has been a teacher and private tutor for over 45 years. All right, Jan, you are up. Take us home. Jan, you're on mute. Just 1 second, you guys. Go ahead, Jan. On mute. Jan, you're on mute. Sorry, give us 1 second, you guys.
How's that?
Yes, I can hear you now. Beautiful.
That's not exactly the way I wanted to start this out, but technology beat me up this time. Okay. Whether you're homeschooling or actually just helping your child with homework, you'll probably get a few pointers from this section. Gabrielle asked me to do a presentation on writing, and she also wanted me to include something about organizational and study skills. So I decided to marry the two and explain how to write a 5-paragraph essay, which is very versatile in many subject areas, both nonfiction and fiction writing. So the 5-paragraph essay I'm going to explain, with the content being organizational and study skills. So I'm going to let you look at the wall here for a minute and explain the skeleton of a 5-paragraph essay. We have an introduction paragraph, 3 body paragraphs, and a summary paragraph that gives us our 5 paragraphs. The structure of the first paragraph has 3 sentences in it. An attention grabber sentence to pull your reader into wanting to actually read what you have to say. An informational sentence that directs your audience to your main points. So this is a little more general than the 3rd body paragraph, which is your thesis or topic sentence, which designates basically 3 points that you're going to extrapolate in the body paragraphs. So let's say, for example, your thesis statement contains, you want to talk about organizational skills, time management skills, and study skills. The organizational skill was the first thing that you mentioned, so it will comprise the first body paragraph of your content, which would be actually the 2nd paragraph in the 5-paragraph essay. Time management skills, you put 2nd in this line, so it would go to the 2nd body paragraph to be expanded upon. And the study skills to the 3rd body paragraph. So you have this content right here. If you decided to maybe start out with your time management skills, then that would be in the 1st body paragraph and so forth. So you're really taking your reader, you're holding the hand of your reader to make sure that they understand that this is what you're going to talk about, and then you make an intentional paragraph for each of the points that you're making. And in these, you're going to have the content of what you want to say. The summary paragraph, which is your 5th body paragraph, is a reiteration of your 1st. You are tying it up, you're tying your points up and referring back to the information and thesis sentence in your body paragraph, I mean in your intro paragraph. That is the skeleton of the paragraph writing for a fiction or a nonfiction writing assignment. This is what your goal is, but we do not think in this order. So homeschooling or if you're just helping your child with homework is a matter of trying to get your child to understand how he or she thinks, how they organize their thoughts, and how they easily transfer the thoughts to the communication. And that's not done in this order. So it's intuitive to go, well, the first thing I would need is a grabber sentence. But if you don't really know what you're going to say in the content of your 5-paragraph essay, how can you come up with a way to grab the person's attention? So even though this is the first thing that's mentioned, it's not the first thing that you should be thinking about. In fact, it's the content of it, what information is out there that I might be able to work into several sentences in the body paragraph. So this is a point where I say to my students, you gotta take notes. Oh, I get pushback on that a lot. Oh, no, that takes too long. Oh my gosh, no, no, no. But when your child realizes how much easier the writing part is, if they have taken notes from the sources that they're researching, they will fall into line with this easily. It's like, what else can you tell me about how to do this? All right, so let's go to the research part of this, which is where you're trying to pick out these 3 words. Perhaps your note-taking could take this form. If you focus on who, what, where, when, why, and how, when you're reading in any information, trying to fill in this information as you're reading along, you're going to be able to make beautiful sentences out of just this much information. So the note-taking I have pared down to a very basic part, and it works in pretty much every subject I've ever tutored. So let's say some of the words that you have when you're taking your notes come out to be workflow, prioritization, meet deadlines. What category, you might ask your child, would that go into? And they might realize that these are time management words. So, okay, let's put that aside. I think I might have something going on there with a category. Another one, plan, system, structure, coordination. Well, that makes me think of organizing. Maybe I could use some of these words for another topic. And then as they're reading along, perhaps they find words like techniques, habits, strategies, focus, concentration. Those might go into these study habits. Now I've got not only do I have the category, the thinking for my thesis or topic sentence, I also have some pretty cool words to work into my sentence structure. So I don't have to say study skills in every single sentence. One of the things that this organizational and analyzing how to put random data together in context comes from time management skills. Your students can learn this, but it isn't something that is easily taught at school, but it will be for you. I've put this chart together. Your student really ought to have maybe a calendar or agenda where they list off the responsibilities for the day. So I have columnized this for the date. And this is the part that's really, really important for the maturity of your student. the estimating the time that they think it's going to take them to do math on page 73, problems 1 through 25. A student might say, oh, I think that's going to take me about 20 minutes to do. That's written in the estimating time block. Then when they actually do this assignment, let's see how close they can come to what they thought that they would have to spend. And if they are in maybe 30 minutes, the next time they get an assignment that's something like this, they might give themselves an idea of 25 to 35 minutes instead of just the 20. And this, of course, goes on for each of the subjects that they have. If they have a long-term assignment, maybe that Nile River project that's due in a couple of days from now, it's listed every single day until it's actually going to be able to be turned in. I have found that this is so easy for the kids to do, and they hone in on their study skills, and they make much better choices along the way. For my older kids, I insist that they put down not only their homework, but the soccer practices, where practice is maybe an hour, but there's the driving to and from. I'll say to them, how long does it take you to get ready for bed at night? What about your shower? How long does it take you to brush your teeth? It all has to be factored in to their daily work so they can basically manage their time. So we could use this in our essay, but I wanted to absolutely show you this because it works really well. It doesn't work fast. You're going to have to do this for a few weeks before your child is going to get the hang of it, but it is really, really helps them manage their workload. The sooner you start these time management skills with them and how to organize, the sooner that you won't have to nag them as much. All right, so now we get back to the paragraph. We've now got our 3 categories. Now we're going to take our word bank that we found, possibly take this and look these words up in a dictionary to get an exact meaning. They might be able to use some of the actual definitions of the words to help them build their paragraph sentences. The information sentence would have to be something that leads us to this organization and time management thesis statement. Let me see if I can read just a part. I'm reading from one of the books that Gabrielle mentioned before. This was the first one I wrote in 2012, and these are actually my tutoring techniques. Every chapter is a subject, and I thought long and hard, talk about organizational skills. I said, if you could only know one thing about writing, and I give you the answer to that. If you could only know one thing about spelling, or reading, whatever the topic is, in order to get you to have a skill that really helps throughout that subject, and it doesn't waste your time as much either because you've got some direction. Okay, so maybe your child is now taking notes from this paragraph. It says, your child benefits when she categorizes by subject. That means having a designated folder, notebook, or section that separates each subject. So your child might be writing this down: folder, subject, notebook, section. I suggest having different spiral notebooks for each subject. Pocket folders for each subject are convenient for storing classroom handouts or completed homework. Okay, so more notes there. Why would I want to organize myself? Because I can find it better. How do I do this? Remember, we're putting this into this who, what, where. How do I do this? I have designated notebooks or sections for each subject. Let's see. Pocket folders for each subject are convenient for storing classroom handouts or for completed homework. I have tutored many students who dutifully do their homework and then they can't find it the next day. That is a sure, that's a sure arrow that you're not completely organized, and it has to be tweaked. Here's the goal, though. Being organized means being able to find what you need when you need it. Okay, so now that we have our thesis statement and the body paragraphs figured out what we're going to be, how we're going to organize it, now comes the writing. Your thesis statement is already there because you picked your categories. Now, how do we direct it information-wise to this threesome? Remember, I told you, this is the skeleton for it, but that is not the way you think. That's not the thinking order. You do your research to find these categories. Then you find an information sentence that's going to lead you to this. And then lastly, you're going to grab the attention. So it might be something like this, the attention grabber. Study harder? Why not study smarter? I think I would want to read that. For an information sentence, you might say something like, you would be more productive and effective if you can organize yourself, or you can manage your workload. That's probably a better one. And then the thesis statement: organization, time management, and study skills are learned behaviors. There, I've got my introduction paragraph with my thesis statement. I'm well on my way now to extrapolate here and talk about only the organizational skills. Second body paragraph is only my time management. This is the time that we might talk about the agenda with the estimating and actual times. And then the third body paragraph, the study skills, again, using the words from our research. These paragraphs are finished now, and the conclusion or summary could wrap it all up. We could say something like, organizational time management and study skills make the workload easier and more effective. It's not too soon to start. Learning those behaviors. Boom, your paragraph is finished. I've gone into much more detail about the actual organizational and study skills. I've designated a complete chapter for it in the book. So if I whet your appetite for some more information that's usable on a day-to-day basis, please watch the videos that are on YouTube. This is my YouTube channel, Jan 6th Tutor 1. It'll take you right to the YouTube videos. They're all free. If you watch them in the order of the playlists that I have for you, it would be like I'm teaching the lesson, and that might be an advantage for you too, to help you get started until you feel like you can manage the homeschooling. I'm so excited for you, though. Homeschooling is, I certainly recommend that you do it. I'm proud of you for wanting to try it. Your students are going to have a lot, they're going to have a lot more individual attention, and I wish you well.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Jan. All right, you guys, let me see those reactions. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Bree. Thank you, Gloria. Yes. Yes, loving these reactions. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you, Wally. Thank you, Kalita. Yes, loving these reactions. Keep them coming, you guys. Keep them coming. All right, so all right, so before we get, so we're gonna do the Q&A, but before we get to that, let me just knock out this raffle. So the raffle is now closed, no more submissions. So I have my 4 winners. I'm going to announce them now. Okay, I'm gonna have to add some sound effects in post. But yes, so our raffle, so we have um the books that Jan mentioned. We have tumblers, we have a lot of goodies for you guys. And the 4 winners are so Tiffany from Maryland, congratulations. Next winner is Wendy from New York. Shout out to New York. Congratulations, Wendy. Next one is Bree from California. So congratulations. And we have Gloria from Arizona. So congratulations, you guys. So congratulations. So you 4 are our winners. I will reach out to you individually because the prizes need to, well, some are emailed, some are mailed. So I will be reaching out to the 4 of you individually. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. But congratulations. All right, so now time is going. Let's get to this Q&A. Okay, let me just so go ahead and put your questions in the chat. I would also love it if you guys can, if you're comfortable speaking, if you can speak your questions. So if you can use the raise hand feature if you want to speak your question. Okay, so it's just the 3 of us, right? Wait, no. Oh, Wally's here, so I need to add pin. And Melissa is here, add pin. Okay. Lovely, lovely. Yeah, so if you have questions, put your questions in the chat right now. If you would like to speak, to verbalize your question, please raise your hand. Use the raise hand feature, and we will do just that. Okay, just make sure all of us are pinned up on the screen. Okay. All right, so let me see if there's any hands up right now. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at the chat. Let's see any questions that have popped up. No questions yet, so I guess no one has any questions. Make sure you put it in the chat or raise your hand if you want to ask your questions. So I guess I'll just kind of start to get things going. So now Tamara, you mentioned that you graduated your eldest child to college. So and you're in New York. So what was the process like for you? What did you do?
It was pretty basic. We did do a transcript, which I work for Classical Conversations, and so we have a transcript service that we offer for our members. It's actually not just for members; anyone can use it. It's free to anyone who wants to use it. Transcript.net. But I put in her grades into her transcript based on her classes. We applied to college as normal. We had one school that we didn't hear anything from, so I'm not sure whatever happened to them, but she got into every school she applied for. She got scholarships. And we didn't, it, I didn't experience any of the hiccups of a homeschool child entering into the college world. Like I didn't get questions about, and it may have been the luck of the draw, but I didn't get any pushback as to her grades. No one questioned her transcript. No one asked me for a diploma. It clearly said that she was homeschooled in her application and on her letter. So we did all the normal things, and she got into every school with the one that we didn't hear from.
Okay. Oh, so you wrote in homeschooled on the application. Was there like an option to check off on the application?
We used the Common App, and it asked like for the name of the school, so we put homeschool. So there wasn't so the application clearly said she was homeschooled, but no one questioned it or made us jump through hoops over it. And we applied for both private and public colleges, in state and out of state, and we didn't have any issues.
Okay. That's fabulous. That's fabulous. All right. All right. I'm not seeing any. Oh, wait, here we go. There's one from Susie. How did your child transition from, I guess it's to the panel. How did your child transition from homeschool to college environment? So I guess that can go to Tamara or
Melissa can probably can also
Linda.
jump in on that. But they because we meet my kids for the greater part of their homeschool, we were part of the classical conversations community, so they had regular connections with other students. Um, my daughter chose what was this, her sophomore and junior year, she chose to spend the summer at working at a sleepaway camp out of state. She wanted to test out what it would be like to be away from home for multiple weeks. So that was her testing ground to see whether she wanted to see how far away from school, how far away to school does she want to travel. um, and she is now 10 hours away. So, and she loves it. Like I shared earlier, she's a resident assistant, so she's one of the dorm leaders. She's a organization leader. She's in the theater department, so the girls on stage all the time. So there is no issues of how to socialize or how to make friends. All of her friends, which I'm so pleased with her, all of her friends are on the dean's list or chancellor's list. So these are not just like party kids. These are, and none of her current group of friends were homeschooled. They're often shocked that when she tells them that she was homeschooled, or when she meets someone new, it's like, you were homeschooled, because they don't know what to expect. But she fit in really well. One thing I will say is that she's probably one of the most talkative kids in the classroom in college. Is because she's used to speaking up. She's used to presentations, and she's used to um, walking into a room and saying, "Hey, my name is Raina, and tell me a little bit about yourself." So that's become it's part of what we do in our homeschool. So it was a pretty easy transition. But the one thing I think that stood out was that she did go away the summers before college to test out what it was like to be away from home for an extended period of time. But let's just put like 5 kids through college. So I only did one.
Yeah. So it was pretty much like an easy, you already prepared her earlier, right? So you prepared her for the presentations and speaking in public, and then your daughter grew up around the community already, so you gave her that early training. So when it came to college, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, she had a handful of college courses already during our homeschool time. So we do concurrent enrollment in classical conversations. So the same program we're already doing, you can pay for the college credit for it. So it's a little bit different than dual enrollment. But she had about 6 or 7 college courses already under her belt. So she was used to dealing with a college professor. She's also used to dealing with, she also knew how to walk into a new environment. Because with homeschooling, we tend to sign them up for a lot of things. And so she got pretty comfortable walking into an environment and getting to know the students who were presently there.
Uh, okay. Wait, and your daughter's a local college or she's far away? Oh, you said she's 10 hours
She,
away.
I live in New York. She's in North Carolina, so she's 10 hours away from us.
Oh my
Please
God.
plan for the extra expense of flying your kids home. That's not covered by the scholarship.
It doesn't sound like it. Oh man. Um, Questions in the chat. I guess that's a good job on us. All right, Lindsay, are you still there? Okay. Okay, so I was gonna ask, okay, there you are, Lindsay. So in terms of micro schools, as I was saying, it popped up for us last year when we did Homeschooling 101. So it seems to be a new wave of homeschooling, although I've heard it's been around for like oodles of years. So could you tell us more about the impact of micro schools on the homeschooling community?
I think that micro schools is really just giving even more opportunities for alternative education. It's not exactly the same as homeschooling, but it's certainly opening up that model to more people, not only making microschooling as like more of an option for people who want to homeschool but can't for whatever reason, but giving sort of that entrepreneurial option for educators leaving schools, parents who are homeschooling, anybody who has a passion in a specific niche.
Yeah. So who are the types of parents that are choosing micro schools? What are their demographics? Or
Like
even for,
enrolling
because you have
or
your own
watching,
micro school, so what are the types of parents coming to you?
who are enrolling in micro schools or opening micro schools?
Enroll enrolling.
Enrolling. I don't have stats on the actual demographics of parents in micro schools. Mostly we help micro school founders, and they are looking for like their academic content for their schools. And there's such a cool variety though of founders and students who are in there, and they all have their different niches. We've seen a lot of growth in the neurodivergent students that are leaving traditional education and moving to either homeschool or micro schools. So there's a lot of micro schools opening that focus specifically on neurodivergent needs, or they're like even more specific, like for dyslexic kids or for autistic kids. So that's a really growing area in micro schools and homeschooling.
And in terms of the ones who are founding the micro schools, do they tend to be parents or just anybody?
It seems like there's a really big movement of trained teachers who want to get out of the classroom, but they're passionate about teaching and kids, but they're getting burned out in the actual education system, the traditional education system. So they're trying to move into microschooling as a way to still feed their passion and their skill, and that's their profession, but sort of do it on their own terms. So that's probably the biggest group that I've seen doing micro schools.
Oh, okay. All right, awesome. Thank you, Lindsay. And Wally, you're still there? So I'm gonna make sure I get you, Wally. Make sure, yes, please, guys, put your questions. So, I mean, I guess we're doing a good job if there's no questions. All right, Wally, let me know if you're, huh?
Can we address the AI question?
Yeah, I'm still
Yes.
here. I'm just shopping in Publix. This mom was always on the go till about 9 o'clock at night.
What's the AI question, Tamara?
Well, just the topic, I guess, not a specific question. As you brought that up earlier, I think one of the things we get to be mindful of with our students, particularly as we are, for those who are parents who are overseeing majority of their kids' education through homeschooling, we get to still ensure that our kids have the skill set to do research. One of the things that while AI is convenient and I use it, and I would recommend we teach our children and train our children how to use it well, we still get to be mindful of the skill set that would be lost if that's all they use. And so one of the things that we used to have when we were coming up and we were going to school is that we would have those journals and those encyclopedias where they had already been vetted, and there was a particular organization, whether it was the sciences or language arts. There were a group of professionals who study this particular subject who put together resources that we can utilize. Now it's just any random person on Google. You do a Google search and you get whatever anyone who has said. They could be a sheep herder who's giving information on astronomy, and our students just pull up an article that they wrote and is using that as a source, as opposed to researching the quality sources that would give them information, and also learning to understand bias, and even learning to ask good questions of AI. So one of the things that we've seen with AI is that if you ask it a question, it's going to answer you because it is a people pleaser. But then when you ask it, give me something that's unbiased, give me something that's research, cite your sources, then it gives us an entirely different set of answers. So just teaching our children how to ask good questions, how to check sources, and look for information that is peer reviewed, that is from reputable places, and not just a random guy's thoughts who happen to post it on the internet.
That's a very good thought, Tamara. I've often wondered if there will ever be another original thought, with the AI. And I've told my students many times, don't give up your power. You're 9. You don't have much power to begin with. Don't give it up to an easy fix like the AI.
So
Do
one
you
thing to use it well is,
Mhm.
like, I'm not a big fan of Wikipedia as a general source, but oftentimes if you scroll to the very bottom of a Wikipedia source, there will be sources that they use to help build that source. So I would go directly to that list and then start from there, or even just remembering to go to the back of an actual book and look up their sources and start from there. So that's a great way to actually use AI to help filter out give me a list of books I can go look up, and not just give me a random article on the web.
Well, this comes under the analytical part of it. That with what you're trying to teach a child is how to use the resources that you have in a real way. If you've got information that is secondhand, and that's not as believable as someone that gets a resource that's firsthand. Uh, but if that's not pointed out and stressed, and a homeschooling parent can really do that very effectively because they know their child, then you're getting kind of blurry discernment. The kids don't know how, they'll trust anything, and we don't want that either. So that's just another perk for being a homeschooling parent. You can oversee that much better.
right? Absolutely, absolutely. And I think when it comes to um things like writing essays, like again, I use AI myself. I use it as a tool, not as a crux. But even some things like writing essays. So like Jan, how you actually broke it's on your wall, it's on your background.
It's
It's
on the,
actually
it's on the
have
wall.
a it's on the wall, but you actually broke down the steps, right? And and then with AI, they'll just generate a generic essay for you. And they tend to use a lot of heavy vocabulary words. Even if you do it like 3 or 4 more times, you'll see that it'll repeat the same words over and over again.
Mhm.
Um, and it doesn't really sound authentic. When you read it, it really sounds robotic. I mean, even if you like program it, because you have to ask certain questions to program it in a certain way, but um, it it doesn't have your voice in it. And while it can be used as a tool to help you, it really shouldn't be um something to depend on. Like you still have to double check it, right? Because sometimes it still gives you wrong information. And it's pulling from what exists on the web already and it's pulling it all together in one place. So you still have to double check it. And so it's a good skill to for parents to train their kids on, especially if they're homeschooling, is to teach them to double check their sources, right? To double check, to um, to look at multiple sources as opposed to one source. Um, so it's a great skill for kids to learn, especially I would say like middle school, high school years where they're writing more research papers. It's a good skill for them to practice actually double checking and double researching and and making sure that the resources are correct. And so and using AI, although I will admit I wish I had it when I was in school. You know, I'm a millennial, so everything pretty much came from the internet, but you know, but it does has its benefits and its detriments, and we really got to teach kids to pay attention to those detriments, right? And not be so dependent on it because it will just kind of spew out anything. But you really have to go back and double check it. So it's a good skill for kids to learn, especially if they're homeschooling, how to double check resources. Oh, I thought I saw something. Okay, I guess not.
Well, there's
Oh,
nothing that gives more originality than when a child thinks in these categories. I bring this back again because it's so versatile. But if you were reading even like a Dr. Seuss story, just reading with your child, yeah, and maybe the child isn't even reading, maybe you're reading this it to the child. If you can say, well, who was in that story? What did they do? Where were they? When did that happen? Why? And the child is giving this information. Uh, I wondered how early could I teach that skill? And it turned out to be a 3-year-old. I was shocked, but that child was able to pick out those details, and I scribed for that child because they couldn't write at that point, but they could think it, and very it was very thrilling.
absolutely, absolutely. All right. Any, yes, no questions? No guys, any questions? Raise your hand, put them in the chat. Okay, I guess yeah, we did so well. Ain't no questions. Um, Wally, if you're still there, what is there anything you want to add to the AI conversation?
Um, I guess for me, I'm an old school parent, and so honestly, um, each kid has a laptop, but I'm be honest, they don't hardly use it. So they actually read more and actually write more than we do electronically. And I told them that because so many kids right now, when they're writing, they don't even know how to write a complete sentence. And because we are texting more, we like I don't know, it's I key what IKN or whatever it is. And so it's like these kids don't know how to spell. And so I said, you know what? Y'all need to start reading so you know what words mean, you know how to spell them. And if you do abbreviate, you know what you're abbreviating versus you're just abbreviating and copying someone else. So they really don't get to use AI much. Mommy uses that for her business. So I'm sure my son is about to really get into the high school thing. So I'm sure we'll have that hurdle and jump over it when we get there. But I really I value the basics, like writing in cursive, things like that. And I told them they got plenty of time to be grown and do what grown-ups do, but I don't impression them so much of using their phones and the computer. Like they all have a physical dictionary. I do Bible study, they all have a Bible. So even all their books, their subjects are books. So we rarely use the computers, and we're more book. So when they do want to use AI, they'll actually know the difference between, okay, this is really it and this is not it. So yeah, so I've been kind of like just really not pushing that, to be honest with you.
Okay, great, great, great. Lindsay, is there anything you want to add to this conversation? I don't know. Has AI been coming up in the micro schooling community? And how have you guys been handling that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of schools of thought on it. I think if we don't teach our kids how to use it, then they're going to be ill prepared for the future. It's not going away. It's just like you were saying, you're a millennial, I'm a millennial as well. And I remember the internet being new, and I remember the schools banning it and our parents telling us that we couldn't be on it. And that did not stop anyone. We just had no skills, right? We didn't have any safety skills. We didn't know what we were doing, but we were still doing it. We just the school banning it didn't make us safer. It made us actually less safe because we had no education around this new technology that we were using. So, and in terms of the future of work too, like if we don't teach our kids how to use this technology, they're going to be behind. And I think that that's important for us to learn. And I hear every day people say we have to use it as a tool. We have to teach kids how to use it, but you don't hear a lot of people saying, how do you do that? Because it's brand new, and a lot of the experts, like we are still learning how to use it as well because it's so new. So I think for a lot of people, like a lot of guidance is looking for curriculum that teaches how to use AI, whether that's like a homeschool curriculum or just like a YouTube series, or there's free courses from Google. There's a lot of reputable places that have free courses. So if as a parent, you're like, wow, I don't know anything about this or how to teach it, that's okay. There's lots, so you can learn beside your kids and you guys can learn how to use it together. And then I think another one of the big, like huge advantages we have as homeschooling parents and as microschool leaders is that we can give our kids assignments to do that are engaging and that they're interested in, because kids will use AI to cheat when they don't care about the thing that you're forcing them to do, right? And that's the same reason that people cheat on anything. You know, if you have a passion project, I've never once wanted to cheat on a passion project. If I have something that I want to do, if I want to like make a point, I will write the essay. If I want to learn how to knit, I will watch all the YouTube videos and I will do it. But if you say to kids, this is what school does over and over again, you have to do this and you have to do that, and they don't give them, there's no relevancy as to why this is important for them to learn. There's no interest in it. And then we're surprised when they cheat, like when they try to get it done as in the fastest and easiest means possible, which these days is AI, right? I use AI, I use it as my research assistant. You know, I use it as my helper partner who never gets tired and knows everything about me because I've trained it on my writing style, and it can be a tool, an actual tool. But I wouldn't use it to just write a thing and be done and call it done unless I was being forced to do that thing and I had no interest in doing it well, which is where a lot of kids are at in school. They're being forced to do the thing that they have no interest in doing well. So that's where they end up cheating. And I see all these like teachers on LinkedIn who are talking about like, oh, we have to bring back the like the in-person work and the hands-on work and the like assignments the things that they build in class. It's like, yeah, let's bring that back because that's what kids love doing. And they're not going to cheat if they're really invested in the project. And that's very hard to do. Like, I'm not bashing teachers or schools. That's hard to do when you have like 30, 35 kids in a room. And you have government standards that you have to teach to. But as homeschoolers and microschool leaders, we can build those projects that they're actually passionate about and interested in. And then they are more likely to use their tools as tools.
Right. Awesome. Did that help you, Tamara? Because I know that was a concern that you had.
Oh yeah, it's something I wanted to just address. You mentioned it earlier, and I figured let's at least spend a couple minutes talking about it.
Yeah, and it is, and even with like curriculums, like I'm sure it hasn't quite caught up yet, right, to the curriculums that are out there right now. And I mean, you could probably honestly use AI to develop a curriculum. It's like, why take what's already there when you can just kind of use AI to create one? But yeah, I think it is pretty new. I mean, it's been around for a long time, but now that it's in public consumption, now that the public can access AI for themselves, I think that's when it started to explode. So really in the past couple of years, and even like our laws are catching up to it, right? So um, I think it's fairly new to us, I would say. I don't think it's a new concept, but it's fairly new to us, and it's trickling down into our schools and even with colleges, right? So I don't know if you have a concern, Tamara, about your child in terms of submitting in papers, right? And professors using AI to grade papers, right? So it's even in colleges. So I don't know, do you have a concern about that at all?
No, ma'am.
Nope.
Thought that girl had it right.
I think I think I would have more of a concern about AI wiping out my career choice.
That's what do you mean? Tell us
Like,
more.
well, if you chose a career that uh AI could do better faster, uh maybe maybe that should weigh in your consideration of exactly what you want to do for a living.
It's absolutely a real concern. My son's
Yeah.
going into grade 12, and he was talking about what he might like to do. And he's like, oh, I might like to be a coder and do like computer science,
Yeah.
computer development. I'm like, that's not probably not going to be a job, or it's going to be like cut
Mhm.
into like a 20th of the number we need right now. And he's like, well, maybe I'll do animating. I'm like, I don't think that's going to be a job either. Like, so there's a lot of those things, you know. I know Anthropic was saying like their coders use Claude to help them code, and what one developer used to produce, they now produce like 20 times. So if you had 100 developers, now they need what, 5? So jobs might not completely disappear, but there's a lot of jobs that we're gonna need less of.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't, like discourage your son from pursuing those things because it's always you need people behind AI, right? It's not the computers themselves, like someone is operating it. So, where everything is on an app now. So, I mean, I would still say you could pursue things like coding and computer science, because there is this huge push for it, in our society. So I wouldn't completely discourage it. But just be mindful of, it, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, I guess we are so warped by technology now. And now, like, even schools, it's really becoming digital pretty much. So, yeah, I wouldn't discourage things like, computer science because it's now that our society is shifting into technology dependent, um, which is an overall concern. But I think the more push into dependence on technology that we have. Like we're slowly turning into a cashless society, for example, where we may not need cash anymore. So I think because as a society, we're slowly turning digital. I think, I mean, there'll always be a need for like computer science and coding.
Yeah, I'm trying to get him to get into AI.
Yeah,
He taught himself how to code. He wanted to make a video game, so he taught himself how to code, and he taught himself how to animate, and he did it all with YouTube tutorials and ChatGPT helping him check his work and explaining things to him that he didn't understand. And it's like, you don't need a 4-year degree anymore to be super
that's
good at
true.
something if you're interested in
Yeah,
it, you know. Yeah.
absolutely. Lindsay, you mentioned earlier about the potential of job loss and also training the basics. I watched a documentary the other day where a student who had studied Latin for 4 or 5 years, high school and then in college, how she changed the trajectory of her technology company because Latin gave her the basis of understanding language. She took
I
that
love that.
work and used it to transform how they were coding because she understood the basics of language structure And so she just translated that into the coding language, while at the same time, a recent video of where grocery stores had been moving to self-checkouts, and they realized how much money they were losing, and now have reversed and gone back to, we need cashiers because cashiers can see that you didn't put that item up on the thing that you're about to roll out, and you forgot to take everything from underneath your cart. Cashiers can see, cashiers actually scan all the items, as opposed to the self-checkout where you put like 3 things on the scanner and 5 things in the bag. And so they recognize there's a point where we still need people. So it's a both and. Yes, we use the technology. Yes, we train for the basics, and we find where we're working so that both happen at the same time. Because it's, by the time you go to school, by the time you take the course, the technology has changed, and then all that coursework is now outdated. So we've got to just stay ahead and do both. Continue with the basic structures, continue with the fundamental knowledge, and see where we can marry the two so that society continues to improve. Because I like my robot vacuum. I don't want to push a vacuum, but I don't want a robot cat. I want to keep my dog as an actual dog.
There we go. All right, lovely. All right, I guess still no questions. All right, so we're doing a good job, ladies. All right, so I guess another thing that comes up is about being able to afford homeschooling, right? So things like, okay, like if you're going to use workbooks, you have to purchase the workbooks, right? Or if you use an online academy, there's memberships, there's subscriptions, or even with micro schools, there's tuition, right? So what do you say to someone who's like, I want to homeschool, but I can't really afford maybe a tuition at a micro school, or I can't really afford to, purchase all these workbooks, and I don't have the money to do all to, I don't know, send my child to a homeschool co-op, for example. I mean, depending on the co-op, but what do you say to someone that says, money is an issue?
I would say look for as many free resources as you can. I just told you I put all those videos on YouTube. They're all free. If they help someone, great. That you have a library source. I would look for everything that I could that would be free.
Yeah, absolutely. My first year homeschooling, I used whatever was available for free. The only thing I paid for that first year was $10 a month to IXL.com, which is one of the resources you mentioned earlier, because I wanted an actual math curriculum to walk me through the process. But I paid for that. When I started Classical Conversations, I immediately became a tutor because I got paid as a tutor, and it helped me cover the cost of the program. I think Lindsay mentioned earlier, those who are entrepreneurial at heart, if you start the program, then you don't have to worry about paying for the program because you're the one that's running it. And so you're charging everyone else. So your stuff is covered. Within Classical Conversations, you can tutor and direct. That covers your cost of our program. But you can start your own co-op to support that, or start a micro school, or do the things that are free. But as parents, we are by nature resourceful. We're going to find a way to do the thing we want to do. So whether we've got to beg, steal, or borrow, we're gonna figure it out. Let's not do too much of the stealing part. But
I also always tell parents who are new to homeschooling that public school isn't free either. We think public school is free, but it's not. My kids started off in public school. We didn't pull them to homeschool until they were in kindergarten and grade 2. And we were very broke at the time. I tracked every penny out the door to see where we spent money. And we spent money on public school, fundraisers, hot lunch, pardon my language, popsicle day, milkshake day. If you've ever bought a fidget spinner because everybody at school has one. You know, like you spend money and you pay for field trips. When you pay for field trips, you're paying not just the entry fee, but the bus as well. And, you know, like we tracked all of our spending on the public school, plus they need 2 pairs of shoes and they're going to lose 8 pairs of mittens during the winter. And like all of that adds up, right? And when we started homeschooling, I tracked that money too. And even buying a curriculum, we spent less money homeschooling than we did public schooling. And we were able to cut other expenses where, you know, like my daughter was doing gymnastics, and that was a pretty expensive sport. But once we started homeschooling, then we joined the homeschooling gymnastics. And that was happening like on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. when the gym was empty, and they gave us a really good rate. So now instead of paying like $300 a semester, I was paying like $67 a semester. So some things like that went down, and then we had more budget to go to do other things too. So maybe we're still spending $300 a semester on extracurriculars, but now we're not doing just gymnastics. We're doing gymnastics and swimming lessons, and we're doing 6 field trips a month, which way outpaces public school. So we found that financially, we got more with homeschooling for the same amount of money, or we could do the same amount of stuff and save money.
There's
So
also
I'm gonna come from
the
okay.
So I'm gonna let Wally go. Go ahead.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna go from the side of someone has maybe 2 incomes or 1, and they're trying to figure out how they're gonna be able to homeschool. So my kids also started out in a school. They were in a charter school, but at the time that they were in a charter school, I was working from home because I had a remote job. So it was easy to transfer from the charter school to the homeschool because I already had an income. Okay, so the first year I had to pay for things out of pocket. And what I decided to do, like I was looking at all these curriculums. I'm like, gosh, I have 3 kids, you know, some curriculums are $500 to $800. That's a lot of money for 3 kids because I got to pay that each. So I started going to the library, and each library here where we are has a store. So I purchased used books, and then I would go to thrift stores and I would purchase more used books. Well, here in Florida, the governor the other year, there's a scholarship called Step Up that was designated for people who wanted their kids to go to private school. Well, he opened it up to homeschoolers as well. So there's actually a marketplace now that I can go online and purchase things. Or like you discussed gymnastics, I have 2 girls that are in gymnastics. I got one who's on team that I pay like a van payment, you know, a month plus, and then the other one is in 2 classes a week. And so what I have to do is first pay gymnastics, then I submit to the scholarship and actually get reimbursed for that. So I always tell people there's always a way to do something. Again, think out of the box. I always encourage parents that want to homeschool. I'm like, look for a remote job. There are so many places now that will hire you to work at home. Like my kids are older now, so they can independently work. You know, I don't have to worry about sitting there at the table with them or whatever. I just come out here every morning, I put on the board what they're supposed to do, and then whenever they wake up and get it done. So really, a lot of people are asking, how can I afford it in regards to an income? And so if anyone has resources for work at home remotely, that is the best way for them to afford it the most, unless they want to work a 3rd shift, which I do have a mom friend of mine. That's what she does. She works a 3rd shift, and then her husband helps homeschool during the day while she sleeps, and then he works a 2nd shift, so they swap off. And so, you know, again, I'm in Florida. They're a little more relaxed. It's like the governor puts a lot towards education. And so, you know, they're even thinking about now trying to do a stipend for homeschool families so the parents can get part of that scholarship as an income to help pay for bills, which that'll probably be a long way down the road. But, you know, knowing that I can go on the marketplace and purchase something now instead of having to rush out and buy it, it's a blessing. But again, I just started going to thrift stores in the library at the beginning, and that was like, I have more books from there than I do from purchasing online, to be honest with you.
Oh, Tamara, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to give some resources. HSLDA offers a compassion grant for families who have a financial need. The money can be used to purchase curriculum or join a co-op. Vela.org, VELA, will offer, if you are starting a homeschool group, like a co-op or a micro school, and are in need of funding to get that going, they offer funds for that. Some of their state organizations may have scholarship opportunities. And then to the previous speakers thing about jobs, before I started homeschooling, one of the reasons I had that on my mind was because I was already working from home. And I didn't have this job, but I used to work for a company called Arise, ARISE, and they have contracts with Fortune 500 companies where you can work from home. So I was working from home back in 1999, where I was doing customer service for what was Circuit City, which is no longer a business. I worked for Apple and AT&T from home. So when you were calling the 800 number, you were getting me sitting in my bedroom at my desk. But it was a way for me to earn an income while I was home with my kids. And I did it while I was on maternity leave. But there are legitimate work from home opportunities, far more now than there were before. But this is you would be an independent contractor through Arise, but those are some opportunities that you can use to help with cash in hand to start homeschooling. So either Arise for work, Vela, or HSLDA for funding.
Girl, you brought back a memory when you said Circuit City. I'm like, oh my gosh, that used to be my store. Okay.
It's been a minute.
All right, ladies. All right, so time is going. So I'm going to let each of you give any final words, wisdom, quotes, whatever. So any last words? So I'll start with you, Wally. Any final words that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yes. So at first it may seem scary, and it is. So I'm not a sugarcoater. It is scary, but once you get into it, you'll realize you're not alone. There are so many people now homeschooling. There are so many people pulling their kids out of public school that in your community, if you Google it, there's probably 10 groups around you within a couple of miles of your home. So I always tell people, be scared. That's okay. That's normal. But you're not alone. You won't be defeated. It's very fun. I mean, I love that I get to be home with my kids and knowing that I get to see what they're taught. I get to see them grow. I get to see them manifest what they're learning into something, and knowing that I'm protecting them as best as I can from subjects that they do not need to know about until they're about 35.
You are covered until then.
Yes, right.
All right, Tamara, final words of wisdom.
Yes. It is, I echo what Wally mentioned. Be willing to learn alongside your children. There is so much more that can be taught in addition to the academics. with your child, watching you work through something hard, watching you find a way to pay for homeschooling, find a way to find groups, find a way to find curriculum. That example that we get to provide for our kids is worth everything. It's so much more than just academics that is being taught.
Yeah. All right. Lindsay, final words of wisdom.
I don't know. Both of those were really good. I love that. Learn alongside your child for sure. I think that's my biggest homeschool advice. You don't have to know the answer to everything, because so many people tell me, like, I don't remember 7th grade algebra. I don't know how to teach it. None of us remember 7th grade algebra, unless maybe you were a 7th grade teacher. But like, there's nothing you can't learn. You don't have to be like the all-knowing answer giver. It's fine for you guys to learn things together. And it's actually even better, to model for them, like you said, to model figuring it out, because they're going to hit lots of things in their lives that they don't know. But what you need to teach them is not the things, but how to find out the thing, right? How to teach yourself something. And that's the best way to prepare them for the future. That's how they'll keep up. That's how they'll, be independent, and it's so good for them. So concentrate on that, not on having to be like the teacher who knows all the answers. I really just reiterated what you said, but it was very good. So there's
Sometimes you gotta reiterate. It's nothing wrong with that. All right, Jan, words of wisdom.
I would have to say, you're not raising a child, you're raising an adult. That's the goal here. And I look upon the homeschooling parent, and also the one that sticks it out and does homework with the kids if the child needs. It's a privilege and a blessing to you. The years of childhood go way too fast.
Yeah. And in terms of I guess my words of wisdom, I would say in doing this workshop for 5 years, it really, and in being a tutor myself, you really have to take initiative to make the the world that you want. So I mean the thing with public school, like, it's pretty much kind of built into their system, things like socialization, things like curriculum. But in terms of homeschooling, you have to create that yourself. So you have to create that curriculum, you have to create the routine, you have to set the alarm for your kid to wake up, and you have to um set the alarm for when school's over, right? So you have to or maybe you don't want such a routine, you kind of want to take it as you go. That's, but you have to put that in place. And even if things like evaluating your child for special needs, right? You can see a neuropsychologist, you can get evaluated privately as opposed to going through the public school. Um, but you have to take that initiative. So you can create the school that you want, create the environment that you want, but you do have to take the initiative. And I find that with homeschooling and all that I've learned, you have to put the work into it. Um, so it's not just gonna come to you. You do have to put the work into it, and it is trial and error, right? So even you try um the Montessori method, but it doesn't quite work until you try an online academy and it doesn't quite work. And so it's trial and error. So it's patience, it's persistence, it's trying different things, it's um not being afraid to fail. It really is something you have to take the initiative for. So it's not just gonna come to you like that. And then also being honest with yourself. So if you don't necessarily, if you I mean, you're primarily the teacher, but if you are honest with yourself and say, I do not want to teach, but I want to take my child out of the system, but I do not want to teach, consider a micro school, right? If you're okay with sharing the responsibility with other parents in terms of teaching, you consider a co-op, right? If you don't want to teach at all, consider a micro school, right? So it's being honest with yourself. How involved do you want to be in the homeschooling process? And if you maybe you have a full-time job, I just want to drop my kid off somewhere because I work full-time, and that's fine. There's no shame in that, but you may want to consider something like a micro school, right? So it's being honest with yourself. And if you do want to be more involved in the creation of the school, then it does take initiative on your part. It's initiative and it's persistence. All right, so that is it for words of wisdom. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, so we're gonna close out now. I know time is going. So we're just gonna get everyone's contact information. I did already put it in the chat. Um, Wally, tell everyone where they could find you. Wally, you still there? You still with us?
Yeah, sorry. Lord.
We're wrapping up. We're
It's
wrapping
like,
up. Right. So tell
all right.
tell everyone where they could find you, promote your business.
All right. So I am on Instagram at product.pusher.llc. I'm also on YouTube, Product Pusher LLC. On Facebook, Wally Garrett or Product Pusher LLC. And so if you go to my website, honeymake-that-money.shop, you can find all of my links to all the products that I promote. All the products I promote are products that I actually stand behind.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, Tamara, tell everyone where they could find you.
If you are in the Northeast, particularly New York, on Facebook is Westchester Homeschoolers, is our Facebook group. If you are looking for a homeschool co-op, classicalconversations.com, you can put in your zip code and find a co-op near you. I will say it is a Christian organization, so just want to put that out there. If you're not looking for a Christian organization, that may not be the way you want to go. If you're looking for a book to talk about more about homeschooling, African American homeschoolers, African American families, why we homeschool is the book I co-wrote with a number of homeschool moms. So you can check that out as well.
All right, beautiful. All right, Lindsay, tell everyone where they could find you.
I don't know all our handles. Schoolio.com is the website. You can go there and find any of the other ones we're on, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the places. You can look me up specifically on LinkedIn. If you want to connect on LinkedIn, anyone who's entrepreneurial or wants to move into the microschooling space. And I also do homeschool mentoring for anyone who's new to homeschooling and just wants a chat. And that's what I do as a volunteer. So the giving back to the community thing doesn't cost anything. So feel free to reach out anytime.
All right, beautiful. And Jan, where can everyone Lanissa had to leave. Let me just shout her out. So she is one of the members of the HSLDA. We mentioned them a lot throughout here. I think it's a Homeschool Legal Defense Association, I believe. But you can learn more about them. I got it. Okay, great. So they're pretty much all over social media. So you can find them on Facebook as HSLDA. They're on Instagram and X as HSLDA. They're also on YouTube as HSLDA. You can email if you have any questions about the college process, the military process. You can email Lanissa. Her email is Lanissir, LANISSIR, capital J, at hslda.org if you want to email her directly. Or you could call the office and ask for her. But the number is 338-5600. Oh, and she did ask me to put up a coupon. Let me just do that real quick. All right, so she did ask me to okay, sorry. So she did ask me to share again this QR code. So scan the QR code on your screen to get free resources to support your college journey, career, and military as well. So just take those phones, scan the QR code, and you will get those free resources. So make sure you take advantage of that as well. And of course, you can go to their website, hslda.org. It's a great resource. So if you want to learn more about the laws of your state or country, my internationals, you can go to that website to check that out. So she asked me to share that. Um, so there you have it. Okay, so that's on behalf of Lanissa. And Jan, tell everyone where to find you.
The YouTube videos are on Jan 6th, Tutor 1. And the two books, the Teach Your Child to Learn, Parent's Guide, Techniques That Work, and the preschool book, Teach Your Preschooler to Learn. Those are both available on Amazon.
All right, beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And of course, I, on behalf of A Step Ahead Tutoring Services, so you can find us on our website, astepAheadtutoringservices.com. I should put my information on here, but astepAheadtutoringservices.com. You could also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn as A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. We're also on X and TikTok. So it's a different username. So it's ASATS2013. So that's X and TikTok. We're on Eventbrite as well. You can stay in touch with our events. And WhatsApp, it's the business name spelled out. So it's A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. But of course, all of this, of course, is on our website, which is A Step Ahead tutoringservices.com. All right, you guys. Well, thank you again for joining us on Homeschooling 101. The replay will be available shortly, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. And thank you again for joining us for Homeschooling 101. Good luck with your journey, and please reach out to any of our panelists if you have any questions, if you need help moving along with your homeschooling journey or to improve your homeschooling journey. So please reach out to us. We are available to you. And thank you guys for joining us, and congratulations again to the raffle winners. I will reach out to you individually in regards to sending you your prize. And thank you again. Thank you for joining us. Bye. Okay.